Well, thank you.
Your show.
Yeah, welcome to my show. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, let's begin. I wanted to get John Cass's seasoned opinion on this matter because there's potentially competing interests that collide here. National security on the one hand and free minds and free speech on the other hand, some might argue. I'm not talking about Mahmoud Khalil, but other student visas, foreign student visas that are being revoked by Secretary of State Marco Rubio. The latest controversy the left is attempting to drum up. Tufts University student from Turkey, Romesa Azurk, Turkish citizen and doctoral student, was taken into custody, sent to the detention center. She previously demanded that Tufts University, quote, acknowledge the Palestinian genocide and divest from companies tied to Israel. The Trump administration is accusing her of engaging in activities in support of Hamas. Assistant Secretary for DHS Security. DHS and ICE investigations found Azurk engaged in activities in support of Hamas, a foreign terrorist organization that relishes the killing of Americans. She was removed to Louisiana, where she faces deportation back to her home country of Turkey.
Bye.
And bye. Well, I guess there's my one-word answer, but here is what Marco Rubio had to say on this case specifically and the topic generally.
Mr. Secretary, a Turkish student in Boston was detained and handcuffed on the street by plainclothes agents. A year ago, she wrote an opinion piece about the Gaza war. Could you help us understand what the specific action she took led to her visa being revoked?
Yeah,
and what was your State Department's role in that process?
We revoked her visa. It's an F1 visa, I believe. We revoked it, and here's why. And I'll say it again. I said it everywhere. Let me be abundantly clear, okay? If you go apply for a visa right now, anywhere in the world, let me just send this message out. If you apply for a visa to enter the United States and be a student, and you tell us that the reason why you're coming to the United States is not just because you want to write op-eds, but because you want to participate in movements that are involved in doing things like vandalizing universities, harassing students, taking over buildings, creating a ruckus, we're not going to give you a visa. If you lie to us and get a visa and then enter the United States and with that visa participate in that sort of activity, we're going to take away your visa. And once you've lost your visa, you're no longer legally in the United States, and we have a right, like every country in the world has a right, to remove you from our country. So it's just that simple. I think it's crazy. I think it's stupid for any country in the world to welcome people into their country that are going to go to your universities as visitors. They're visitors. And say, I'm going to your universities to start a riot. I'm going to your universities to take over a library and harass people. I don't care what movement you're involved in. Why would any country in the world allow people to come and disrupt? Now, we gave you a visa to come and study and get a degree, not to become a social activist that tears up our university campuses. And if we've given you a visa and then you decide to do that, we're going to take it away. I encourage every country to do that, by the way, because I think it's crazy to invite students into your country that are coming onto your campus and destabilizing it. We're just not going to have it. So we'll revoke your visa, and once your visa is revoked, you're illegally in the country and you have to leave. Every country in the world has a right to decide who comes in as a visitor and who doesn't. If you invite me into your home because you say, I want to come to your house for dinner, and I go to your house and I start putting mud on your couch and spray painting your kitchen, I bet you're going to kick me out. Well, we're going to do the same thing if you come into the United States as a visitor and create a ruckus for us. We don't want it. We don't want it in our country. Go back and do it in your country. But you're not going to do it in our country.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, answer line. John, your reaction to what the Secretary of State had to say?
Now, she's from Turkey, right?
Correct.
So I hear that Turkey, if she goes back, goes home, she says, hi, Mommy, hi, Daddy. I'm sorry I was going to be a big success in America, but I didn't. I guess I screwed up, and now they sent me back. But that's okay, Mom and Dad. I'm just going to stand up and protest the government of Turkey because I don't like what they're doing. How long do you think Mommy and Daddy would let her do that?
Well, I mean, you're talking about a NATO ally. Are you suggesting something about the Turkish government?
Well, I guess if you're a protester, you might get kicked to death by the security forces. I don't think that that's a wise course.
Well, right, but I mean, of course, this the standard we hold ourselves to is not the Erdogan standard. So I mean, my question to you is, as some, I mean, in a serious, are you? I mean, David French, no less an intellect than David French, has weighed in on this and finds that unless there's more evidence than the op-ed that she wrote, this is a chilling episode, or an episode that is a disturbing, a chilling of free speech. Well, I mean, as I quoted from, as I quoted from DHS, it sounds like they have more than just an op-ed in terms of the goods on this particular student. But the larger point is, do you worry? Because Rubio was asked about the number of foreign student visas he's revoked in a relatively short amount of time, and it's already in the hundreds. And
I think it's stupid for any country in the world to welcome people into their country that are going to go to your universities as visitors. They're visitors. And say, I'm going to your universities to start a riot. I'm going to your universities to take over a library and harass people. I don't care what movement you're involved in. We do it every day. Every time I find one of these lunatics, I take away their visa.
You're saying it could be more than 300
sure,
visas?
I hope. I mean, at some point, I hope we run out because we've gotten rid of all of them.
Every time I find one of these lunatics, I revoke their visa. Okay.
Perfect.
I mean, Marco Rubio has a little bit more dirty Harry in him than I thought. But I mean, going back to the question, are you concerned at all that because we're still talking about the government?
You know what I'm concerned about? I'm concerned that that someone like David French, who wrote for the National Review, correct? Or does he still write for that?
He used to be with the National Review. He also used to be a Christian. He still calls himself one, and he calls himself a conservative. But
well, I'm not going to debate Christianity with David French, but I will tell you that you're a guest in our country. Act like it, or get the bleep out. That's my view.
I get that, but I mean, but the specifics as it pertains to speech versus behavior, speech versus action. In other words, I mean, we have foreign student visas to allow young people to come over here and get a college degree or an advanced degree. Right. But the point is that we're transmuting our values. That's part of what we're supposed to do, particularly when they go back to their country. We want the ideals that we hold dear to be adopted in the entirety of the world, right? I mean, we wish the rest of the world had the Bill of Rights.
Do we want to teach these students how to destroy their own nations? Is that what we're teaching?
No, but this is my point to say. Of course, if these were American citizens, and I'm well aware of the distinction, of course.
Yeah.
We would be saying certainly be raising the specter. You're allowed to be a member of the Communist Party here. You're allowed to say things against your government here. You're allowed to organize and protest government policies here. You're allowed to say obnoxious, hateful things here.
But you can't do that in any other country. You can't go to Greece or Turkey, and you can't deface the Acropolis or stand on the Acropolis.
We're not talking about vandalism. We're not talking about vandalism.
You can't stand at the Acropolis and begin to give testimony as to how terrible the Hellenic world is. It's not going to work because you're a guest. There are obligations to citizenship here, and there are obligations to the guest.
So so your view is, I don't want to understand this. Are you saying that a person on a foreign student visa at the University of Illinois, if they go into the middle of the quad and start spewing, hateful rhetoric in the direction of Jews, that they should have their student visa revoked?
Out.
So speech for you is enough if it is subversive speech.
I think that if you're a foreigner, I don't mean. I know that
a visitor, exactly
visitor,
what Rubio said. Visitor on a student visa.
Yeah, on a student visa, it's a privilege. So mind your P's and Q's, honey. Don't mock us and don't mock our hospitality. There are obligations for citizenship, and there are obligations in the guest-host relationship. When I come to Dan Proft's house, I don't expect him to call Les Nomads for send takeout dinner. I expect him to be in the kitchen cooking a little bit.
Yeah, right. Well,
Serve your guest.
If
But we serve our guests, don't we?
If that's your
Hospitality.
expectation, you're never going to be invited to Dan Proft's house. If that's your expectation, just so you know.
Please, may I have a glass of tap water?
Coming up at 5:38, we'll turn our attention to Brett Baer's interview with the DOGE boys. That's 5:38. Now we check the headlines.
Listen to podcasts of Dan and Amy from the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Rick Borick, host of Unleash Your Wealth.
When the stock market struggles, when inflation is high, you need to start looking through the inventory of all your accounts and say, is every one of these investments working as hard as it could be? Because every month during high inflation that you waste, you're losing 8 or 9% a year.
Unleash Your Wealth, Saturday at 7 a.m. and our new time at 2 p.m. here on AM 560, The Answer.
Are you a writer who's devoted your time to writing a book with Christian morals behind it but need help to get it published? Maybe you wrote a children's book, your memoirs, a devotional, or a mystery with strong moral values at its core. Covenant Books has helped faith-based authors publish, edit, and sell their books through Christian bookstores and major online book retailers. Plus, if you call now at 800-255-9500, we're offering a free writer's guide to help you through the publishing process. Our experienced and dedicated staff will review and notate your manuscript with an editor's eye. Then our page designers will format your book to create the appropriate experience for your readers. And if needed, Covenant's talented illustrators will bring your book to life. Most importantly, Covenant Books will help tell your story by printing, marketing, and distributing your book through specialty Christian bookstores and major online book retailers like Amazon, Apple, and many others. Covenant Books. Let us help tell your story. For your free writer's guide, call 800-255-9500. That's 800-255-9500. 800-255-9500.
Good morning. It's 49 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. The Trump administration is revoking hundreds of student visas. On Thursday, Senator Marco Rubio said 300 or more student visas are being revoked as the White House targets students who express their support of Palestine. Rubio called these students lunatics and said his team is working on repealing more student visas every day. Police in the south suburbs are investigating an alleged case of squatters who are house hopping. A pair of property owners in Hazel Crest say a group of people with 2 dogs moved into their vacant home and wouldn't leave. After paying the occupants to vacate, they saw a story on television about a man in Tinley Park who claimed squatters had moved into his home and refused to leave. Hazel Crest police said the suspects connected with other alleged squatting cases. Authorities are now working with the Cook County State's Attorney's Office to see if crimes of extortion or fraud were involved. News is a service of Turnkey. Turnkey is the key to cyber protection. For a limited time, Turnkey's offering all new customers their first month of service free, including Microsoft licensing, antivirus, anti-malware, data backup, plus 24/7 help desk support. Visit turnkey.pro today. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
His influence across the political landscape is unmatched. His knowledge of the details is unprecedented. And without him, the Trump team wouldn't have reclaimed the White House. He's Charlie Kirk, and he's on the move to a new time.
The country is saved. This is your victory as much as mine. You know what I mean?
Here's
this
my
is
point.
a victory for every human being on the planet. We knew what we were doing the whole time.
The Charlie Kirk Show moves to a new time starting March 31st. Weekdays from 11 to 2 on AM 560. The Answer.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm. If you own a timeshare, don't miss this public service announcement from Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group.
If you receive an unsolicited phone call or mail piece to discuss selling, renting, or especially canceling your timeshare, don't fall for it. If you really want out of your timeshare, hang the phone up immediately or throw that mail piece in the trash and contact your timeshare resort or Wesley Financial Group for assistance with your timeshare. As the only Inc. 500 timeshare cancellation company, our knowledge, experience, and results has made Wesley a trusted resource for over 40,000 families we've helped get out of their timeshare. Give us a call, and I'll send you our timeshare exit information kit free with the straight facts about your timeshare and all of your options for cancellation.
Call for your free info kit. 800-839-8484. 800-839-8484. 800-839-8484.
Jeff Tishlar, author of High Tech versus the Highest Tech, has shared his knowledge of the spectacular things that we see in nature as opposed to what man has created and how this should inform one's faith. Jeff served on the mission field all over the world and has created this highly illustrated and concisely written technical book. The easy-to-read format is understood from the youngest reader to the most intelligent and mature readers. Google and Amazon book reviews include, "This is the best little book I have ever read. It is amazing how much information is in this book." And a beautifully written and illustrated book. The author has a gift for describing complicated technical details in a very understandable style. This book is available now in paperback on Amazon. Search High Tech versus the Highest Tech by Jeff Tishlar. 100% of proceeds go to missions. That's High Tech vs. the Highest Tech by Jeff Tishlar.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hawkburg Traffic Center. The Edens looks good inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose. No delays. Same thing outbound. The Kennedy from Montrose to the Burn Interchange. No delays. Outbound also moving along at a pretty good pace. The Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 12 minutes. Outbound, 13 minutes. The Stevenson from the Tri-State to the Lakeshore Drive, 17 minutes. Outbound, it's about 17 minutes. The Dan Ryan inbound from 95th to the Burn Interchange is 12 minutes. Traffic is a service of almostfreeteeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants with medical PPO insurance? It's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at almostfreeteeth.com, making smiles great again. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a quick check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Increasingly windy, clouds and a couple of showers. Thunderstorm early this morning, then partly sunny by the afternoon. High today 76. Tonight cloudy, windy and mild, low 60. Clouds and breaks of sun tomorrow. Breezy, couple of brief showers. High 68. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Top of the morning, Dan, and in framing this morning, John Cass, johncassnews.com. We're talking about, the same thing you heard on Nikki Whaley's newscast, the revocation of foreign student visas by Secretary of State Rubio and his discussion of his philosophy on that. John and I were talking about that. This against the backdrop of a Turkish student who had her visa revoked and is being returned home, and the suggestion that it may be as many as 300 foreign student visas, have been revoked by the Trump administration
all
just
Turks
in the first couple of months.
All Turks or others as well?
Across the board. Obviously, talking about people like Mahmoud Khalil in Colombia, perhaps the most celebrated case to date.
Oh, yeah.
So, but a couple more before we get to the big Brett Baer DOGE interview.
That's great.
A couple more points on this, though, too. I wonder if people agree with John that you're not allowed to say a improper word or two, lest you risk your foreign student visa. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. That is what you said, isn't it?
Typical newsman that you are. You're going to exaggerate everything I said.
Well, I mean, what is your...
Twist it. You're going to twist my
am I
words.
twisting it? Am I taking you out of context verbatim? What is... I mean, you said...
If you're
crossword.
If you're a guest in my house, like Rubio's using this metaphor.
Yes.
Behave.
Well,
we used to have a saying on the
Yes.
way into Oak Lawn on 95th Street. There was a saying, a sign, and this is before I knew that Oak Lawn was an outfit town, okay? When I thought it was just the town I grew up in.
Mayberry,
yeah. And the sign said, "Welcome to Oak Lawn. Be prudent, stay safe." And
so that's where that "stay safe" thing came from. It was you people in Oak Lawn. Good grief!
And
Talk
that's where I reach back in my memory to the time when I thought the Bushes were conservatives, and I think be prudent is a good, prudent thing.
I understand, but let's take this from the abstract to the concrete.
Yeah, okay.
Somebody's on a college campus. They're on a foreign student visa. They're in the middle of the quad at U of I, like I said before the break.
Kiss the ground you're standing on first.
And I mean, there's a couple of scenarios. Maybe there's no difference for you. One is they say hateful things about the Jews in support of Hamas and the Palestinians, but it's just speech. That's number one. Number two, they protest Trump's mass deportation policy, or they participate in a protest against tax cuts. Strictly policy, no hateful rhetoric. They just disagree with the policy. In either or both of those cases, does that foreign student put their visa in jeopardy, according to you?
Are you going to put this thing in matter of degree? Is that what your issue is? So
no, I'm asking.
So
where
if you're like if you stand there quietly and say, "I really don't think this is a good policy," you'll be tossed out. But if you take over the street and scream like those shrews, and why are they all women? But they are women. From the river to the sea, blah, 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 blah.
Mahmoud Khalil's not a woman.
Yeah, but there are women screaming for him, like the Afghan women who would attack.
Yes, I get it.
You read Kipling as a boy too, right? Yeah, and so that's it. I don't like that, but you have a right to speak, I guess. But I don't think you have a right to criticize your hosts.
Well, then you don't have a right. So you don't have a right to be critical if you're a foreign student here on a visa. You don't have a right to be critical of government policy here.
Yeah, I would much rather you not, because.
Well, much rather. I'm asking if you think their student visa should be revoked on that basis.
Protest against the United States. Get your ass out.
Okay, well, that's a yes. Okay. That's what I was just getting to. I just want to understand. Jim in Rockford.
I agree with John. I think that they should be removed. If I was a guest, if I went to London and I was standing at Buckingham Palace talking against the royal family, I would be kicked out. So, I'm tired of the United States doing for other countries, and we're always doing good things, and here we go. They're going to be coming here and creating. Now, one other thing I wanted to say is, they could come here and write an op-ed, and that could incite United States citizens to do something that maybe they wouldn't do. Come on, Dan.
Okay. Thanks for the call, Jim.
Dan is just piractidio is the Greek word for a guy who drives people crazy. Piractidio, Dan.
Well. I mean, I think it's an interesting discussion, actually, that because, I mean, heretofore, we've mostly focused on individuals having their student visas revoked that are doing much more than just writing an op-ed.
This just
out.
in, Dan Proft in England would get kicked out by mocking the English game.
Yes, soccer.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, this just in, nobody has the Bill of Rights except us. There's, other Western countries have some respect for free thought and free speech, but nothing enshrined with the protections that we have. I think we guard those jealously. I think we understand that makes America very special. One of the things that makes America very special. And I also think that I go back to what I said before, or maybe develop it a little bit more. You bring foreign students over or allow them to come advance their education here. Part of the reason we do that is because we want to transmit our values globally.
Right.
And you do that through other human beings. They come here to study, get a degree, they go back to the home country, start a business, whatever they do. And so I actually think that foreign students here have a right to be critical. I mean, not a right, but let me put it this way. I don't think their student visas should be revoked if they participate in a peaceful campus protest or whatever, off-campus protest against a particular government policy or a particular politician, or they speak out against a particular government policy or a particular politician. I don't think that should be the basis to revoke a student visa. I do think if you get beyond that, where you're engaged in destructive behavior, well, that's the line. I mean, so the line should be fairly similar to the standard we have for free speech rights in this country for American citizens, which is speech is protected, and speech that crosses the line into behavior is subject to less protection.
The old crotchety sports writer Don Young used to say, in my America, this and that couldn't happen. But I'm asking you, in your America, you would bring the weasels into the tent? You would bring rats into the tent? And then worry about what? Like, they're eating my food. They're destroying our harmony in our tent.
No, I mean, I think, well, first of all, there's an application process to obtain a visa. And Marco Rubio makes a salient point when he says if, for example, Mahmoud Khalil had fully disclosed his affiliations and so forth in his application, then he would have been denied, or he should have been denied. He would have been denied if Marco Rubio was Secretary of State. And so that's a fraudulent application. And so that's part of the vetting process to obtain a visa. So I'm not saying, bring in subversives, but I am saying if somebody comes here, the country is irrelevant to me. If somebody comes here legitimately on a student visa and something transpires where they decide they want to participate in, I don't know, go back to the summer of 2020.
Oh, yeah. Great time.
I mean, it was seriously. Well, this is the point. A peaceful anti-police, pro-George Floyd protest, because there were some that were peaceful. Or what we're talking about now, they want to protest the American-Israeli policy or campaign against Hamas in Gaza. But there's just protesting. No, I think that I don't think that should be the basis for student visa to be revoked. I think you have to go next level where you're being funded by, you're coordinating with, you're acting as an agent of, not to mention anything that is assault or vandalism or the sort of seizing of a campus. I mean, those sorts of things go beyond a peaceful protest of government policy.
There's a question I would like to ask you, and I think now is not the time, but maybe later in the show. The thing I don't get, why is the left so attracted and so consumed by violence to enforce its will?
Well, because they're not particularly skilled in the art of persuasion. Their ideas and the implications of their ideas, as many people may have noticed over the last century or so. I mean, really going back further than that, but just the last century. They produce catastrophic results. So they have to use artifice or force, fraud or force. Those are their two options. Because it's hard to sell Marxism, on the merits. You know what I mean? Sean and Darian.
Morning, guys. So they're not legal citizens, so they're not afforded our liberties. And so as far as I'm concerned, get out and don't let the door hit you on the way out.
Excellent.
You be respectful. If you can't do that, get out.
Thanks. Well, you can respectfully disagree with government policy, but what I'm hearing John and others say is, well, there's no you can respectfully leave too in that circumstance. Is that inaccurate?
My view?
Yeah.
You could don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out. Yeah.
Okay.
That's me.
Andy,
I used to be.
Oh, hold on.
I used to be a little more tolerant, but then I worked in the media for a while, and it stopped me.
Thanks, Dan and John. Good morning. Dan, you're hitting the nail right on the head. If they participate in something illegal, no matter if it's national or even civil or whatever the law is, it's time to say, hey, go ahead, see you later.
That's my point of view, Andy. He's on the other side. He's like giving a little sustenance to the
participate actively in something illegal. That's even blocking the streets, which is against ordinances.
Yes.
So get rid of it. That's it.
Well, I know, but there's no disagreement there. The question comes down to expressing opposition to government policy in a lawful way.
We do that all the time. We as citizens do that all the time.
I understand what we do.
That's okay.
So that's okay for foreign student visa holders?
It's okay for visa holders to express opinions, but to take actions.
That's the line that I'm drawing too, and that's the line that you're drawing. So no, Andy on 80's on my side, John.
I guess. And what does that mean, Andy? That you could write for the Wall Street Journal, but not for the Federalist? I don't want to. It's a little nitpicky.
Well, no, I mean, don't you want to show the world that America can tolerate dissent? So go ahead, make your case.
Just be careful. Make your case, but I'm gonna be the arbitrator, and I'll be a capricious arbitrator.
Okay, Torquemada. Renee.
That's what we need, definitely.
Renee in Barrington.
Reconquista.
Yes, hi, good morning. Yeah, Dan, I do agree with you. And I think it's probably going to get down to the application. The questions they're asking, what does a visa applicant agree to, and will that hold up in court? So perhaps that's what we're going to need to do. I don't know if that falls to Congress or to the executive branch, but it seems like that application needs to be looked at and then tested so that this thing can be cleared up and there's no question when we need to cancel a green card or a visa.
Yeah, well, I mean, thanks for the call, Renee. But there's always going to be a judgment call that has to be made. I mean, and it's going to be somewhat subjective if you include a free expression as a potential pitfall for maintaining your student visa. I mean, if you start to regulate what the content of people's speech as part of the student visa, that gets complicated. I mean, why wouldn't Anthony Blinken then turn out any foreign student visa holder who joins, the college Republicans on campus, or starts saying, I support President Trump for president. If I was an American citizen and I could vote, I would be voting for Donald Trump. And then Anthony would say, okay, well, you're out. I don't like that speech. Bill in LaSalle County.
Hi, thanks for taking the call. John, good to see somebody give a good counterpoint to Dan. One of the other things everybody's missing is the fact of how many thousands of students finish their degrees. They come here for medical school or technical school or whatever, and the whole point of it is they're supposed to go back to their country after they finish their degree, and they don't. And it makes it very hard for American citizens to get these positions in universities at all, because the foreign students are paying full tuition, and the universities love the money train. They don't want to go back to a yurt in Tzatziki Sand or something like that. They want to end up in Manhattan making a lot of money.
Well, that's a matter of the enforcement of immigration law. People overstaying their visas.
Right.
That's part of the illegal immigration problem. We've known that for a long time, not just with student visas, but visas generally. Number one. Number two, rather than hitting the visa program, you should look at the institution. So, yeah, the fact that the U of I has such a high percentage of foreign nationals because they want that cash, well, that's basically a violation of their
charter.
Their charter as a land-grant university. And that's so that between the state government and the governance of U of I and the citizens the residents of Illinois who pay the freight here, I mean that this is a failure of institutional control and contract enforcement. It is not necessarily a problem with having a student visa program.
I agree.
Cynthia, Palos Park.
Good morning, Dan. Dikainis, my Greek brother, John.
Hello, Cynthia. Yasu.
Yasu. I was in Greece a few years ago. I went to Athens to run the marathon, and the day after I survived the marathon, we went to the Acropolis to see. And we were there, my son and I, with several, people, and all of a sudden, we heard this very shrill, it was a whistle I had never heard in my life. And I looked over, and what had happened is somebody went to touch the wall of the Acropolis, one of the columns, and they had this guard there. The guy must have been 80 years old, and all he had was this whistle. And when he blew that whistle, everybody there turned to look at who went to touch this column. And honestly, I think that if they had had a can of spray paint, they would have been stoned to death right there and then.
Well, yeah, okay, perhaps.
We don't play around with our antiquities. Yeah.
Well,
no,
yeah.
they do not, sir.
Especially, and she's bringing it up on the week of Greek Independence Day, and I didn't hear anything from Dan Proft about that one.
Happy Greek Independence Day.
Upset.
All right.
Yeah. I did, and John Cass News didn't write about it either.
Thank you, Cynthia. Okay, I've been properly Greek shamed.
I'm in that boat. I jumped in to help you.
All right, coming up at 6:06 now. Well, then we will get to that Brett Baer interview with the DOGE boys.
Great interview.
That's at 6:06. Now it's time for the news at the top of the hour. 5:15 WID.
A disaster in Burma and Thailand. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, struck by a powerful earthquake.
Suddenly, I started feeling that the earth is shaking. There was a lot of screaming and panicking, which obviously made it a lot worse.
They're in Bangkok, where the Thai defense minister just said there are 3 deaths in a building under construction that collapsed. Others were rescued, but 90 people remain missing in the rubble. The quake was a 7.7 magnitude, centered in Burma, where the Red Cross says there are initial reports of significant damage. There's a flooding nightmare in southeast Texas after they got nearly a foot of rain near the Mexico border. The water's so deep on some roads, cars are submerged. People needed to be rescued. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is in the Philippines, an American ally in a region dominated by China.
We are doubling down on that partnership and our ironclad alliance
has never been stronger.
Hegseth did not talk about the Signal group chat controversy he's in the middle of, and his messages detailing military action in Yemen that a journalist saw and reported on after being mistakenly invited into that chat. A federal judge has ordered those messages not be deleted amid investigations. Meanwhile, more suspected U.S. airstrikes today have hit those Houthi militants in Yemen. President Trump needs to choose a new ambassador to the United Nations after he withdrew Elise Stefanik's nomination, wanting the New York Congresswoman to remain in the House to help preserve the slim Republican majority. And Stefanik tells Fox,
"Look, I've been in a House. It's tough to count these votes every day, and we are going to continue to defy the political prognosticators and deliver victory on behalf of President Trump and, importantly, the voters across this country."
Britain's King Charles has just been seen in public the day after a little bit of a health scare and a brief hospitalization.
He was there under supervision before he was later released. Buckingham Palace released a little bit of information about what we know at this point. So he was taken to the hospital after experiencing some side effects that he had experienced after his scheduled and ongoing medical treatment for cancer.
Alex Hogan in London. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It's 48 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Good morning. I'm Nikki Whaley. President Trump is limiting union rights for federal workers. On Thursday, administration officials said that Trump signed an executive order restricting many agency employees from unionizing. The order also instructed the government to stop engaging in collective bargaining. The American Federation of Government Employees condemned the action, saying that Trump is illegally stripping collective bargaining rights from hundreds of thousands of federal workers. In truth, FDR actually was very much against unionizing the government. President Trump says that he's asking his nominee for the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations to stay in Congress. Trump says it's essential that New York Congresswoman Elise Stefanik stay in the House, as representatives need every seat that they can get. And Texas Senator John Cornyn agrees.
Elise Stefanik should be congratulated by putting the greater good ahead of her personal ambition.
Cornyn serves on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, which conducted Stefanik's confirmation hearing back in January. The president said Stefanik has been vital to pushing forward his administration's agenda. He added he doesn't want to take a chance on anyone else running for her seat. 3 people are hospitalized after a head-on collision in North Barrington. Police say a passenger is in critical condition and 2 drivers are in stable condition. The collision happened on Thursday morning when a Ford ran into a Subaru on Route 59 near Gulfview Drive. Route 59 was closed between Miller Road and Signal Hill for quite some time. News is a service of Valdecast Windows. For the discerning homeowner looking for high-quality and professional-level window replacement service, contact Valdecast Windows. Your award-winning Platinum Elite Pella certified contractor. Visit Valdecast.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Nothing happened. The attack was totally successful.
Was it a screw-up by Trump's team?
A lot of journalists in this city who have made big names for themselves, making up lies about this president.
Or is this just more fake news?
Because of that Afghanistan withdrawal, we have damaged our credibility.
How big is this scandal?
He was texting war plans.
Nobody was texting war plans.
Whether it's formally classified or not, it is very sensitive.
Make your opinion heard.
He's a very good man, and he will continue to do a good job.
On AM 560, The Answer.
Your business is under attack 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's a fact. Small businesses are the low-hanging fruit. You may think you're protected, but you're vulnerable in many ways, and cyber attackers actively prey on small businesses. But Turnkey can protect you. Turnkey is the key to cyber protection. Turnkey has a quick and efficient 12-point evaluation to determine if your business, your profits, are at risk. And right now, for a limited time, Turnkey is offering the first month of service to all new customers free. Peace of mind, free. It includes all Microsoft licensing, antivirus, anti-malware, and completed data backup both on-site and off-site, plus help desk support. Don't leave you, your employees, and your customers vulnerable. Talk to Turnkey. Visit turnkey.pro. 3 decades of experience. That's turnkey.pro. Turnkey, the champion of small business.
Why pay more for prescriptions? Stop overpaying and start saving with SingleCare. It's easy. Find your prescription on singlecare.com, show the coupon at the pharmacy, and start saving. SingleCare works at pharmacies nationwide and is completely free to use, whether you have insurance or not. So the next time you fill a prescription, check SingleCare to make sure you're getting the best price. Take control of your prescription costs. Go to singlecare.com or download the free app today.
Only two things in life are certain, death and taxes. How about one more? Switch from Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile to cut your bill in half with Pure Talk. For just $25 a month, you get unlimited talk, text, 5 gigs of data on America's most dependable 5G network. Making the switch, it's simple, fast, and easy. You dial pound 250, you say the keyword Pure Talk, and make the switch. You do it now, you save an additional 50% off your first month. Pure Talk, wireless, by Americans, for Americans.
Mike Lindell and his employees want to personally thank you for your continued support of MyPillow. They have a big allotment of their bed sheets that were earmarked for the box stores this spring. Well, they did it again. The box stores didn't come through, so they're going to pass the savings on to you. Now there is no middleman, so you're going to get wholesale prices on their famous Giza Dreams and Percale bed sheets. Giza Dream queen size normally $139.98. Your wholesale price $69.99. King size only $79.99. Percale queen size normally $89.98. Your wholesale price $29.98. King size only $34.98. So go to mypillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201. Free shipping options available. This allotment won't last long. When they're gone, they're gone. So remember, go to mypillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201 to get these amazing wholesale offers.
Taking a look at the Team Hochberg Traffic Center. The Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 14 minutes. Outbound, about 13 minutes. The Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn interchange looks good, about 8 minutes. No delays. Outbound, about 11 minutes. On the Eisenhower, inbound from Wolf to the old post office, no delays at 14 minutes. Outbound, same thing, 14 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, about 20 minutes. It's a little bit slow right between Central Avenue and Kidsey. On the outbound side, it's going to be a bit slow due to a right lane being blocked right at County Line Road. Traffic is a service of Fox Valley Coins in Naperville. Easy to get off of I-88 on Route 59 in Naperville. Family-owned, integrity since 1981. FoxValleyCoins.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Cloudy skies, shower and thunderstorm for early this morning. Windy day. Clouds and sun for the afternoon, high 76. Cloudy, windy, mild tonight, low 60. And then clouds and sun, breezy. Couple of brief showers tomorrow, the high 68. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan, and in for Amy this morning, John Cass from johncassnews.com. John, DOGE. The DOGE boys assembled in one room to have a conversation with Brett Baer yesterday.
It was really a good interview, and I really enjoyed watching it.
He also had a little bit of one-on-one time with Elon, which we'll get to. Here was the bottom line, Baer and Musk. What's the thing that most surprises you, or has most surprised you, as DOGE has pursued its mission?
Is the battle between government of decades and decades of buildup and business, which you guys are, is that like a train hitting each other? I mean, it seems like it's pretty disruptive.
Well, this is a revolution, and I think it might be the biggest revolution in government since the original revolution. But But at the end of the day, America is going to be in much better shape. America will be solvent. The critical programs that people depend upon will work, and it's going to be a fantastic future. But are we going to get a lot of complaints along the way? Absolutely. You know, one of the things I learned at PayPal was you know who complains the loudest and with the most amount of fake righteous indignation? The fraudsters. It's a tell. There's some of these NGOs that are crazy, like the $2 billion to Stacey Abrams' NGO that basically didn't exist, and suddenly gets $2 billion awarded from the federal government. She has, why? And there are many such cases like that.
I think that most people, common sense-wise, would say the fraud's got to end.
Yeah.
They're concerned about the 94-year-old mother who skips a check or somehow doesn't get what she's supposed to get.
Right. And what we're trying to say is actually that the 94-year-old grandmother is actually, as a result of DOGE's work, going to get her check. She's not going to be robbed by fraudsters like she's getting robbed today. And the solvency of the federal government will ensure that she continues to receive the Social Security checks, that Medicare continues to work, without which we're all doomed. The reason we're doing this is because if we don't do it, America's going to go insolvent. We're going to go bankrupt. And nobody's going to get anything.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, text line, a revolution not seen since the original revolution, says Elon Musk. John.
You know, I was very impressed by that, and for all the compliments I hear directed toward the Trump administration for the number of excellent communicators in the cabinet, this was missing until this interview. And I think that this is a story that should be told again and again by these people. The fraud and the consequences of fraud. Because, you know, you're talking about getting young people involved in the process. It's their life we're talking about, their future, their economic future. My sons, who are, I guess you could call them conservatives, but they're concerned about all this spending, all this nonsense in the government, the bloated waste, that because they don't see themselves as having the American dream or chance at it like I did. And this is part of what DOGE and Musk and Trump must do.
Yeah, something that Musk said in the interview I found very salient, which was, all these attacks on DOGE. He said, they always attack us in the abstract, never specific. Yeah. General attacks. Yeah, what you're doing is unconstitutional and so forth. But he said, but they never can attack a specific cost-cutting line item in our reporting. And he said, it is not counter to Congress to eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse. Congress is not supposed to. I mean, it's consistent with the law and consistent, one would think, with the outlook of congressional overseers that you don't waste, fraud, or abuse taxpayers' money. So, we're aligned according to the law and according to the responsibilities of Congress. We're not, at odds, right? I mean, just sort of a...
No, we are at odds with the... I agree with you.
Well, I mean...
But with the politics of the last 40 years, with the politics
yes.
of the swamp or the combine, as we call it.
But his point is it's impossible to argue with his point.
Yes.
That remember, I mean, and this is why you have everyone on the left saying, of course we should try to eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse, but not here and not now. I mean, that's the parenthetical comment. Yeah, but nobody is running around saying yes, waste, fraud, and abuse, and so they just make these general criticisms because they can't offer specific ones. Because, as Elon Musk says, right, this is something that is fairly straightforward. You say you don't want to waste or suffer fraud. That's what we're identifying, and so we're aligned. I mean, it is 1 + 1 = 2 here.
He just has to come up with more of these. There was one comment made by one of the DOGE board or whatever panel that they said that there was one outfit in the government that was giving out cell phones and laptops, I guess, to government workers. And there were 470 of these offices. It could be done with just a few.
Yeah, it could be centralized, right? All the redundancies. Well, I mean, the other thing he said, just generally speaking, the opener here, the scale of the WFA, waste, fraud, and abuse.
Yeah.
The scale of it.
For you, what's the most astonishing thing you've found out in this process?
The sheer amount of waste and fraud in the government. It is astonishing. It's mind-blowing. We routinely encounter wastes of $1 billion or more, casually. For example, like the simple survey that was literally 10-question survey that you could do with SurveyMonkey, cost you about $10,000. The government was being charged almost $1 billion for that.
For just the survey?
$1 billion for a simple online survey. Do you like the national park? And then there appeared to be no feedback loop for what would be done with that survey. So the survey would just go into nothing. It was like insane.
And Steve Davis, his right-hand man, literally a rocket scientist, added some color to that, too. I think that the survey ended up was like a $836 billion survey. $836 billion for a survey by national parks. And Davis explained we wouldn't have seen it if we didn't have a cooperation with the Secretary of the Department of Interior. And then the transparency, you can go look at all of what we're finding. We're not quite in real time yet, but Steve Davis said we will be in a few weeks. The expenditures, we're posting it all at doge.gov. And, this is the way you root it out. The American people would never have an eye into the Survey Monkey story that Musk just told without the work that we're doing, and importantly, in coordination and with the support of the president and his cabinet. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. So, I mean, the other thing that was just interesting with the group, first of all, how impressive these guys are and accomplished. Elon Musk wasn't the only billionaire sitting there. The co-founder of Airbnb is involved, too, and we'll get to him momentarily. It just completely runs counter to the slime machine on the left and how they're trying to characterize, obviously starting with Musk as, just like they did with Trump, as Hitler, Stalin, Pol Pot, Genghis Khan, Benito Mussolini, etc. And then the rest of these guys as these are like they're reckless frat boys, they're racist bros. These aren't, they're shooting from the hip. I mean, you listen to these guys and what they're doing and why they're doing it and how they explain themselves. Boy, you have to be pretty locked into the left to not be impressed by that group that Musk has put together.
The way I see it, as a journalist, I see this and I try to take 2 or 3 steps back because I don't want to get too supportive of something like this. But then I think of the sacrifice that these people are making, Trump and all these other business leaders, billionaires, accomplished businessmen, who are losing money because of this. And the argument, the cliched BS argument about how they're doing this for their own pockets, when it's exactly the opposite. They're doing this for our pocketbook, for our future.
And specifically to Musk, when Bear went one-on-one with Elon, of course, he raised the specter of all the attacks on Tesla properties as well as Tesla owners.
Tesla is a peaceful company that has made great cars, great products. That's all it's done. Hasn't harmed anyone. and yet people are committing violence. They're firebombing Tesla dealerships. They're shooting guns into stores. They're threatening people. They're issuing death threats against me and other Tesla personnel. What are they doing this for? Why? And what's happening, it seems to me, is they're being fed propaganda by the far left, and they believe it. It's really unfortunate. But the real problem is not the people. It's not like the crazy guy that firebombs a Tesla dealership. It's the people pushing the propaganda that caused that guy to do it. Those are the real villains here, and we're going to go after them. And the president's made it clear we're going to go after them. The ones providing the money, the ones pushing the lies and propaganda, we're going after them. I think there's some real evil out there, and we have to overcome it.
Who's providing the money, Dan Proft?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to speculate, but we're going after those that propagandize and gaslight and radicalize. Maybe radicalize some of these people. I don't know. I mean, the guy who allegedly firebombed the Tesla dealership in Vegas, charged by the feds, now in federal custody, charged with arson and unregistered firearm, faces 5 to 20 for the arson charge, up to 10 years on the gun charge if convicted. But it's just the randoms too. Maybe you guys have seen this. People listening have seen this as well. But there was, all these videos that are posted of people keying Teslas and behaving just so ignorantly. One of them was in Washington State. This, middle-aged Raffle gets out of her SUV. She sees a Tesla behind her. Gets out of her, stops in the middle of a parking lot. Gets out of her SUV, walks to the Tesla, and it starts, berating the owner, and then she just swipes her key across the driver's side door. Well, she's been identified. She's a 55-year-old millionaire named Camelia Ensler. I mean, this is like, peak Raffle right here.
Was she going to come up with some... She was triggered into it. She couldn't help herself. She'll come up with some sort of therapeutic...
She's married to a lead engineer for DocuSign. They own a fitness company. They live in a $1.5 million house in Seattle. And this is what they have time for. This is how they behave with people with whom they disagree. Or actually, maybe they don't even disagree. Don't even know the person. They're just doing it because you've supported, Benito Mussolini's car company by buying a Cybertruck.
I know about awfuls because you've talked about them and I've written about them.
Raffles.
What is a raffle?
Rich, angry, white, leftist female.
Oh, that's a perfect one. You mean the one that wraps herself up in her PBS donation? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, right. Takes her little vandalism kit in her NPR tote bag out on the road to look for Cybertrucks. Oh. I mean, it's so asinine.
Right.
These people, but I mean, so I mean, I take Elon's point about the real villains are the ones underwriting this, and they need to be identified as well. I definitely agree with that. And
just like Iran funding the student protests in America.
Yes. Yes. Right. Students for Justice in Palestine chapters on campuses and so forth. Exactly. And boy, the way that he said it about we are going after them, and he sort of pointed at Bear. He and the president I think, have had real conversations about this. Greg in Jefferson Park.
Hey, good morning, guys.
Hey.
I saw some on the news, whatever, yesterday. Some guy in Texas, guy's got to weigh 350 pounds.
The guy in the
He's in a four-wheeler, and he rams it right into the side of a Tesla.
Several
and
times,
he almost
right?
goes flying over the top. It's absolutely the most hilarious thing you've ever seen.
Oh,
Check it out if you can find it.
Perfect.
Have a good one.
Thanks for the call, Greg. Getting back to the DOGE part of the interview that Bear did. This was, I mentioned Joe Gebbia, who's the co-founder of Airbnb, billionaire. Less profile, I mean, it's fairly low profile for a billionaire, but he is one. And he came on to talk about and to get engaged after they found that mine in Pennsylvania with 22,000 file cabinets and 400 million documents. And you can only process so many retirements a day because the file folder needs to go down an escalator or go down an elevator to Middle Earth and be processed by some mole living down there. I don't know what the hell it is, but it's just unbelievable. And there were videos when this was first revealed several weeks back. There are videos of the site and stuff. It's of this mine in Pennsylvania. It's wild. But anyway, listen to Gebbia on that Paper Mountain mine.
And they said they needed somebody to help out to fix retirement in the government. I love the challenge, so I jumped on board. And it turns out there is actually a mine in Pennsylvania that houses every paper document for the retirement process in the government. Now picture this. This giant cave has 22,000 filing cabinets, stacked 10 high to house 400 million pieces of paper. It's a process that started in the 1950s and largely hasn't changed in the last 70 years. And so as he dug into it, we found retirement cases that had so much paper, they had to fit it on a shipping pallet. So the process takes many months, and we're going to make it just many days.
Will it be digitized, or how?
Absolutely. So this will be an online digital process that will take just a few days at most. And I really think, it's an injustice to civil servants who are subjected to these processes that are older than the age of half the people watching your show tonight. So we really believe that the government can have an Apple Store-like experience, beautifully designed, great user experience, modern systems.
You know what else was interesting about what Steve Davis had to say was, look, these guys are solutionists, right? They're goal-oriented, and they're not in any way naive. They may not be, political creatures, but they're not naive. And the way Steve Davis talked about it is with the support that we have from the cabinet, from the president, there is a non-zero chance that we can achieve our objective of reducing government spending, get ready for it, by 15%. By 15%. All this hue and cry with that goal, that stated goal, Elon's talked about it before, $1 trillion in savings. But they recognize that this is a undertaking. It's a risky undertaking. There is the potential that it will not come to fruition because of all the institutional interests in D.C., but they're willing to devote their time and energy and talents on this risky proposition. It's incredible that we talk about it this way, but that's the reality. This risky proposition of trying to act in service of both the American taxpayer as well as actually the federal employee, as they have both, as many of them talked about, in terms of making their lives easier, making the experience better, making it better on the provider side as well as on the customer side, making sure that the Social Security recipients' checks are not jeopardized because we're not spending $836 million on a SurveyMonkey survey for the Department of Interior and so forth. So, I mean, you come away with that with a real appreciation for this group and the attitude that they have and the culture that they're trying to bring to the federal government.
The alternative is unthinkable.
Andy in Dallas, Texas.
Hey, good morning. The crazies out in public, that's kind of a given. You're going to get that. But you go to what is supposedly a business platform, you go to LinkedIn, and it is loaded with Musk and Tesla bashing. And one of the funny things is that predominantly the people who write the anti-Musk and anti-Tesla stuff, you look at what their occupation is, futurist, forward-think thought leader, freelance. And then you look at the people who support Musk and Tesla. I put up a couple of pro-Tesla and pro-SpaceX posts. And the people who are supportive are all engineers, business owners, people who actually do real things in the real world. So it's just indicative of our society, unfortunately.
Well, the LinkedIn thing is particularly ironic, and maybe it's just Reid Hoffman and a bunch of aliases. Who knows? But, the LinkedIn founder being one of the big funders of the left. Thanks for the call, Andy. George in Naperville.
Yeah, Dan, if Elon can find you in space, I'm sure he can track you on Earth.
Yes, thanks for the call, George. Ed in Oak Brook.
I was listening to Chuck Schumer yesterday or sometime, and what he says is, Musk is doing this and, all the bad things that you guys have been mentioning. And then I'm thinking he's not talking to your audience, and that's the problem, because the ignorant people are buying whatever Schumer and Pocahontas are saying, and they're believing that Musk is going to take away your Social Security and all these good programs, and that's really the big issue.
Well, maybe the base of that party is, but as we've talked about this week, the data suggests that even a whole host of Democrats are not appreciative of the approach that their party is taking. It's coming up at 6:36. I do want to get to a little bit more of the DOGE because, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, and we've got some DOGE intimidators out there, including one at Brown University. But now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 48 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. The FAA is telling Congress it must do more to ensure flying remains safe after a midair collision over Washington, D.C. that killed 67 people on January 29th. The agency's acting administrator, Chris Rushlow, told a Senate hearing Thursday, "We've got to get smarter about how we use data."
Something was missed at the DCA crash. I take that seriously. I take that upon myself.
Investigators have highlighted 85 close calls around Reagan Airport over 3 years before the crash, but Rushlow admits the alarming trend was missed. The so-called ComEd 4 are set to be sentenced this summer. A federal judge didn't specify dates, but yesterday announced that they will learn their fates in July. All 4 were found guilty in 2023 of conspiring to influence and reward former Illinois House Speaker Michael Madigan in order to assist with the passage of legislation favorable to ComEd. Their sentencing dates have been delayed in part due to a Supreme Court ruling last year that narrowed the federal bribery statute. News is a service of Anthony DeGrotto, State Farm, guest contributor to Get Down to Business with host Shalom Klein, heard Sunday at 6 p.m. Hear why Anthony's team is like a good neighbor. State Farm is there. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Enjoy uninterrupted programming from Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson around the clock, all day, every day, including daily replays of Chicago's Morning Answer on Dan and Amy 24/7. Listen now at danandamy247.com.
Have you seen our energy bill? You'd think Elon used our furnace to power his rocket ships.
Very funny, babe. That furnace is 20 years old and probably hasn't been cleaned in 10.
I'll have Air Right Heating and Cooling check it out. They've seen it all. Plus, there's still time to take advantage of federal rebates. They even give AM 560 listeners $56 off any service.
Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at air-rite.com. That's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right Heating and Cooling, doing it right since 1959.
Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year. These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance, but GoodRx can help. GoodRx helps you save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. Best of all, it's free to use. Check GoodRx to save on GLP-1s. Just go to goodrx.com/GLP. That's goodrx.com/GLP. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
The International Fellowship of Christians and Jews has supported and will continue to support the people of Israel with life-saving security essentials. Your gift today will help save lives by providing bomb shelters, armored security vehicles and ambulances, firefighting equipment, flak jackets and bulletproof vests, and so much more. Give a gift to bless Israel and her people by visiting supportifcj.org. That's one word, supportifcj.org.
First class isn't as cheap as coach, but while they last, you can buy high-end Beautyrest Black and Sealy Posturepedic mattresses for nowhere near high-end prices. Hasseless Mattress is clearing out a handful of premium floor models, like a Beautyrest Black LX Hybrid was $3,599, but now it's just $971. Only a few remain, and they will sell out. Find your employee-free Chicagoland showroom at Hasseless.com.
With over 3 decades of serving up streetwise insight and local perspective on Page 2, the voice of John Cass has a home at johncassnews.com. A place where common sense is still served daily.
Listen up. Do you like being treated as a chumbalone, as a fool, sitting on a stool, smiling wanly at the sky?
Don't be a chumbalone and subscribe at johncassnews.com.
I'm John Cass, 40 years a newspaper man in Chicago. I won't name the place, it's just the paper now. That's the Chicago way. But I'm asking you to join me so you can get a decent cup of common sense at least. You're not going to get it from the media. It's time that you join the frontier of independent journalism at johncassnews.com.
Don't get caught in the parade of chumbalones.
Traditional media, mainstream media like the paper, they're all in on it. They think you're stupid. You know what they think? They think you're a chumbalone.
Subscribe at johncassnews.com now for only $50 a year and become a member of the No Chumbalone Zone.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center. Big problem on the Eisenhower inbound from the Jane Addams to the old post office, 42 minutes. Overturned vehicle, 2 right lanes blocked. That's going to be inbound right after Church Road. Also have a bit of a problem on the Stevenson. This is going to be from around Lakeshore Drive out to Tri-State. That's going to be outbound about 20 minutes. We had an earlier accident. It's slow between LaGrange out to County Line. Stalled semi, center lane blocked on the Stevenson outbound from Lakeshore Drive to 355. This report is sponsored by Rocket. Rocket is giving every home one address. Rocket.com, a single, seamless homeownership platform to help you find, buy, sell, finance, even refinance your home. Everything you need, all under one roof. Visit Rocket.com, the new home for all things homeownership. Rocket. Own the dream. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Increasingly windy, clouds and a couple of showers. Thunderstorm early this morning, then partly sunny by the afternoon. High today 76. Tonight cloudy, windy and mild, low 60. Clouds and breaks of sun tomorrow. Breezy, couple of brief showers, high 68. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Top of the morning, Dan, and in framing this morning, John Cass, johncassnews.com. We were talking about Brett Baer's sit down with the DOGE team, as well as some one-on-one time with Elon Musk. Wanted to get to something else, though, too, in terms of what this is spawning, the DOGE effort. Alex Shea is if I'm pronouncing that right, sophomore at Brown University, where tuition is upwards of $100,000 a year. He's majoring in computer science and economics. He emailed all 3,805 non-instructional full-time staff members last week to ask them how they spent their day and whether their roles were justified. He created a database. He created a database to inventory administrators who, those I guess that responded to described administrators describing the tasks they performed within the past week, a la Musk. and how students would be impacted if their position was eliminated. Link to the staff member's rating in a database called Bloat at Brown. I like it. One of the things I said from the beginning about DOGE, it's, first and foremost about the actual elimination of WFA, waste, fraud, and abuse. Yes. The need to rein in government spending so that maybe someday we'll spend only what we take in just one fiscal year, for starters. But the other thing it does, which is a major benefit, I mentioned before, talking about the culture they're trying to create within the federal government, along with cabinet secretaries and the president, because they're integral to all this, is it gets a lot of attention, and that means it gets a lot of engagement. People actually are learning about government spending. They're incredulous as to what is being reported, all of which is easily substantiated, all of which is being posted at doge.gov. And it's getting maybe some wheels turning that hadn't turned in a while about just exactly what the federal government does and how much it costs, and
a civics lesson.
The opportunity cost. Yeah, it's a civics. Yeah, exactly. But it also animates people within, inside the gate, within the administration, within the federal government, that want to be productive, that want to be constructive, that do have self-respect and do take their responsibilities to taxpayers seriously, to be material in the process of providing the American people with a government they can be perhaps a little bit more proud of. That's such a huge thing. And I just think it's sort of been under-discussed.
Agreed.
It was sort of brought home to me just with this story from, of course, state-funded media about a survey the teachers union did in Illinois. Now, again, the IEA, the survey was 1,000 residents, not to register voters or even likely vote, or much less likely voters.
What was the question? Do you like your firefighter?
Well, this is about obviously the IEA, teachers union, is about do you like your teacher, right? Is your teacher nice? No, but so I don't take all the data here. You'd have to actually look at the questions, and they're probably cooked to get the kind of answer they want. But one data point I do believe from this IEA survey, 71% of Illinois residents believe funding for public schools should increase. And 9 in 10 believe students have a right to public education. Well, that's one of those things where there was some explanation. I want kids to get educated. They should get educated. So I just conflate that with a right in the sort of strict sense of the word. So I don't put much stock in that. But 71% of Illinois residents believe funding for public schools should increase.
What are they talking about?
Well, because the culture, you've been conditioned, particularly here, that if you don't support ever increasing amounts of money shoveled into K through 12 education, then you're somehow against
the children
education and against teachers. Yeah, you're not providing for the children. But that is a cultural trick that the government class has perpetrated on Illinois residents, for example. This is why getting people engaged and thinking and talking generates the realization that they perhaps didn't fully appreciate until the information was provided to them, or until they were, compelled to participate and consume a little bit of information and reflect on that information. If everyone in this state, if they read Wire Points every day, the original research at wirepoints.org on school funding and school performance and the chasm between student performance and teacher evaluations, I mean, what you're getting for what you're paying in. What percentage of people in this country, this would be more interest in the state, I should say. This would have been a nice question on the IEA survey. What percentage of people in Illinois do you think know that what the trajectory of K through 12 spending has been, and the fact that just with the recent NAEP test scores, you got round numbers, a third of Illinois 4th and 8th graders are reading at grade level, and less than a third are doing math at grade level in a system of 2 million kids. But people don't know that.
They don't know how much school administrators make. They don't know how much superintendents make, retired superintendents.
Right.
They have any idea?
Yeah.
Because if they did, I don't know how you'd sell it to them. Like, your car, take a photograph of your car and the superintendent's car. Maybe that would be an illustration.
Superintendent's cars. One at their home here, one at their home in
their lake house.
Their lake house, another one at their spot in Arizona or Florida. I mean, right. That's how many people in the Homewood Flossmoor High School District know that their retired superintendent, for example, the retired superintendent who retired in her early 50s, has a net present value pension of upwards of $10 million. How many people know we talked about Ted? Yeah, the 350 grand that the Dalton school district superintendent makes.
The fact is that they're rewarded for presiding over systems that fail.
No, cool, clearly, but the point is that this information and engagement and attention and culture, this is all, nobody talks about it because they recognize it.
Right.
No, the system never addresses it, never addresses the criticism they hear from, this show or the reports that are done by Wirepoints that are platformed on this show. Because to talk about it is to generate, and to respond to it is to generate engagement, which generates awareness, which generates problems. Because on the merits, even in Illinois, I highly doubt a majority of the electorate is on board for this sort of profligacy. Just like you're saying, you can demagogue Elon Musk all day long, but the most commonsensical people, and that's most Americans, are on board for a guy who says spending $836 million on a SurveyMonkey survey about national parks is the height of insanity, and the fact that the opening bid when it comes to the litany of WFA is $1 billion. I mean, we just waste $1 billion here and there like it's nothing, is what they were saying during that interview.
Right. Just the people that are listening to this show are paying for it.
Right, and
they're not paying for it.
And we're this is, and just localizing it, we're up against this election on Tuesday's municipal election. Then you're hard pressed to generate, even from the engaged person, even from, I'm sure many of our listeners, you're hard pressed to get any sort of turnout from people who otherwise know better and desire better. And you're hard pressed to get any pressure on school boards and superintendents and teachers unions that all collaborate to prop up this system that we're describing, that is great at providing handsome salaries and benefits for the adults in the system.
Are they going to come
and not very good at producing results for the students in the system?
Are the parents and taxpayers who are still here, I'm not here, but are the others who are still here, are they going to come out on April 1st, is it, for the municipal elections?
Well, I think you would get perhaps more people motivated if this information was distributed more widely and amplified. And you had, you sort of have to.
You think the Tribune's going to carry it?
No. This has to be organic and from the outside. This has to be something like the DOGE team. It's just because they ignore or drown out the the players who have smaller blowtorches than they do.
Yeah.
And they also are great now at, they run misdirection plays. So everybody from the central office, federal level on down, and they do a good job of localizing federal propaganda on down, is talking about the Department of Education, and it's jeopardizing $3 billion in funding that the Illinois schools are supposed to get, and so on and so forth. And what they were saying, title, the funding for students with special needs is in jeopardy now because of the Trump's executive order and deal. And it's not. But we're responding to what they drive people to engage on, and it's to the exclusion of the things that we need them to engage on in order to change how the system operates. Get what I'm saying?
When the newspapers that are affiliated with you, I think loosely, right? The Lake County Gazette, Chicago City Wire, and others who have done stories about this horrendous issue in Deerfield where the middle school girl was asked to, or told to disrobe in front of a biological boy, and the mom tried to testify, and she was attacked by a collection of weirdos and transgender activists.
Trans activists. Yeah, right.
They were like angry. Is that gonna cause anyone to vote in that? I mean, to bring out the vote in that area? What do you think?
I mean, I think it gets attention, but does it generate a response?
Yes.
I mean, it generates a response. It's exactly what George just told us. That mom told us when she was on the show. It's like, right. I've gotten a lot of response from people who are privately supportive. People privately supportive. If you talk to them about it,
because you know why they're living in. If they're in Deerfield, they're living right now. They're in Naples. Okay.
Well,
which is why I'm advertising on the podcast form of your program, because I'm trying to reach those people.
Well, yeah,
but they've left.
There's distribution, but I mean, the other dynamic is, I'm aware of it. I think it's terrible. I'm not going to do anything about it
because I don't want to lose my status. I can't risk my status.
I mean, I think there's layers to it. That's definitely part of it. The other part of it is there's not a vehicle for easy participation. In other words, there's not
a coupon to sign on to.
No, well, I mean, it's just, there's not an organization. There's not organizations doing anything. You have Neutral Neighbors, for example, on the North Shore. That would be something. Well, that provides. You need something like that to provide a easy access to participation, where you don't have to reinvent the wheel, and you can sort of participate and not participate, but that vehicle is there, and when something motivates you, you can leverage that vehicle. You can leverage that organization. That's what a political party is supposed to do, but we don't have an opposition party in the state either. No. So I mean, but Neutral Neighbors is a good example, because, I mean, that was started by a few people, and they just, you need to have a couple people that are really motivated to do a preponderance of the heavy lifting. But you have speakers, and you have events, and you pay attention, and you provide information about what's going on in your local government, and maybe you support a candidate or two, or you try to encourage candidates or to run for these local offices, and they don't feel like they're doing it alone by just in their close circle of friends. I mean, human beings are social organisms. Unfortunately, we like to move in packs, and so you have to build out those packs, and that's, I think, I honestly, that's really what I see the DOGE team doing with the organizational support. I mean, this is obviously, high level, with the organizational support of the leadership of the federal government, legislative and executive. And that's why they have, I think, as Steve Dave said, we have a not zero chance of success. I think it's much greater than not zero. I don't think it's on 99% or anything like that, but I think that there is I think there is a better than 50-50 chance that they get somewhere very near the goal that Elon Musk has set. And the only thing that would derail that in the short term
federal courts.
Well, federal courts will slow it down. I don't think it derails it. I think Republican quislings is the only thing that really derails it, and that's a real thing too.
Yes.
I mean, that's a real pitfall too. A lot of big spenders in the Republican Party.
It's all about stopping Trump so that they can hold on to their power.
Dan and John Caston for Amy J., Chicago's Morning Answer.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer. Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage.
While Dennis Prager is recuperating, we know you miss your daily dose of Dennis. That's why Pragertopia is giving you a special gift. Right now, Pragertopia members can hear the best 2 hours of Dennis's favorite segments from as far back as 2010. On Monday, you can hear the Happiness Hour.
Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's what I'm about.
Tuesday is Celebrity Guest Day.
Donald Trump Jr. is in studio with me.
On Wednesday, it's the Male-Female Hour.
I really do wish there were a way to ascertain the number of marriages that this hour has helped.
Thursday, the Ultimate Issues Hour.
Not having ultimate issues clarity is like having a map, but you don't know where you're going.
And Friday is Open Lines.
Feel free to ask me anything about me, about you, about life.
So if you're missing your daily dose of Dennis, go to Pragertopia.com and hear all your favorite segments, along with lectures, celebrity interviews, his famous Torah teachings, and more. Get your daily dose of Dennis at Pragertopia.com. Pragertopia.com.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up at 7:07, we're going to talk to our friend John Hinderaker, Center for the American Experiment, powerlineblog.com.
Big fan.
Tim Walz, Field Marshal Tim, is touring the country. Not since the Blue Collar Comedy Tour has such hilarity ensued, with Beto O'Rourke live in Texas for a town hall.
Don't even talk about how to be a man.
I mean, there's some gems from it, and we'll pour over them with John Hinderaker. At 7:07, it is now 7 a.m., AM 560 WIND.
They're trying to rescue people from the rubble. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. In Bangkok, Thailand, shaken by a powerful earthquake.
This building was just moving, dust and debris. It was pretty intense.
That building under construction collapsed, leaving 90 people missing. At least 3 others were killed by the magnitude 7.7 quake that was centered in Burma, where there are varying reports on deaths, but no confirmation from the military-run government. Video shows a bridge collapse, other destruction to homes and religious shrines, and there's also damage across the border in China. The quake felt a few thousand miles away. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is in the Philippines, an ally in the Pacific, countering China.
President Trump seeks peace. That's my message here as well. But in order to bring that peace, we will be strong.
Now, the U.S. appears to have gone on the attack in Yemen again, with reports of airstrikes today targeting Houthi militants, weeks after the deadly American strikes hit those rebels, which got controversial when a journalist was mistakenly invited into a Signal group chat involving Hegseth and other top U.S. officials discussing that military action. A federal judge has ordered that all those messages be preserved, and Republicans are pushing back at all the recent judges' rulings against Trump administration action. Senator Ashley Moody tells Fox.
You cannot tie a leader, an American president's hands while they're trying to lead for the American people, especially as it relates to national security or foreign policy.
Now, the vice president's on his way to Greenland, which has been pushing back on President Trump's push for the U.S. to take control of the Denmark territory. Fox's Peter Ducey reports from the White House.
The Greenland crew today that's in the air as we speak is Vice President Vance, the Second Lady Usha Vance, National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, Energy Secretary Chris Wright, and Senator Mike Lee. And they are all going to visit a Space Force base in Greenland.
We need Greenland for national security and international security. So I think we'll go as far as we have to go.
America's listening to Fox News.
WIND, Chicago.
Good morning. It's 49 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560, The Answer Newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. A federal judge is ordering the Trump administration agencies to keep messages sent on the Signal app after the military attack plans were accidentally shared with a journalist. The judge ruled the agencies must preserve texts from March 11th to March 15th. The Justice Department says they're working to track down and keep messages from that time period. President Trump is limiting union rights for federal workers.
On Thursday, administration officials said Trump signed an executive order restricting many agency employees from unionizing. The order also instructed the government to stop engaging in collective bargaining. The American Federation of Government Employees condemned the action, saying Trump is illegally stripping collective bargaining rights from hundreds of thousands of federal workers. I'm Mark Mayfield.
The Department of Health and Human Services is going to cut 10,000 employees across different health agencies. It comes after another 10,000 employees voluntarily resigned earlier this year. The changes are meant to save close to $2 billion yearly and will refocus the department's priorities. The so-called ComEd 4 are set to be sentenced this summer. A federal judge didn't specify dates, but yesterday announced that they will learn their fates in July. All 4 were found guilty in 2023 of conspiring to influence and reward former Illinois House Speaker Michael Madigan in order to assist with the passage of legislation favorable to ComEd. Their sentencing dates have been delayed in part due to a Supreme Court ruling last year that narrowed the federal bribery statute. News is a service of In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr., now heard on Sunday morning at 7:30 on AM 560. Tune in and find hope as Jim Scudder explores God's Word and His Word each Sunday morning right here on AM 560 The Answer. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Mike Gallagher knows what normal Americans are thinking.
Do Democrats feel comfortable defending horrific, thug, animalistic gang members like Trendy Aragua? And the truth of the matter is, normal Americans aren't on the side of the Democrats on this. And I wonder if Democrats are sitting around saying, what are we doing?
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
Why pay more for prescriptions? Stop overpaying and start saving with SingleCare. It's easy. Find your prescription on singlecare.com, show the coupon at the pharmacy, and start saving. Single Care works at pharmacies nationwide and is completely free to use, whether you have insurance or not. So the next time you fill a prescription, check Single Care to make sure you're getting the best price. Take control of your prescription costs. Go to singlecare.com or download the free app today.
Only two things in life are certain, death and taxes. How about one more? Switch from Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile to cut your bill in half with Pure Talk. For just $25 a month to get unlimited talk, text, 5 gigs of data on America's most dependable 5G network. Making the switch, it's simple, fast, and easy. You dial pound 250, you say the keyword Pure Talk, and make the switch. You do it now, you save an additional 50% off your first month. Pure Talk, wireless, by Americans, for Americans.
It's Dr. David Goldberg. Hey, let me tell you about our age analysis assessment. It takes just a few seconds to scan for those advanced glycated end products that cause premature aging. And then we'll briefly go over your results and give you a few things for you to do to improve. And then we'll retest you in about 60 days. And you'll pay our special low price for your first assessment, and I'll pay for your second one. That's right, your follow-up age analysis assessment is on me. And we're going to compare your biologic age with your chronologic age, and then we're going to help you determine if your biologic age is on par with your chronologic age. But you got to make that call today, not tomorrow, but today. It's our Health Quest radio hotline, 800-794-1855. That's 800-794-1855. Second assessment free if you make that call right now, 800-794-1855. It's Health Quest Radio with me, Dr. David Kolbaba, Saturday mornings at 11.
Hey, heard you're getting ready to move. We just listed our house on the market. Just make sure you have the right attorney. Doesn't the real estate agent take care of all that? They stay involved, but you want to make sure you have a great lawyer that's negotiating the terms, helping resolve inspection items, clearing up title issues, preparing the deed and other documents, and attending the closing.
The attorneys at Nauman & Associates in Elk Grove Village have decades of experience handling real estate transactions every day all over Chicagoland. NALawGroup.com.
Taking a look at the roads, the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 16 minutes outbound, looks good, 15 minutes. The Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn interchange, about 18 minutes outbound, about 19 minutes. Inbound on the Eisenhower from Wolf to the post office, about 19 minutes. Outbound, about 23 minutes. On the Stevenson from Tri-State inbound to Lakeshore, about 19 minutes. Outbound, this is going to be about 20 minutes. Traffic is a service of almostfreeteeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at almostfreeteeth.com, making smiles great again. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Cloudy skies, shower and thunderstorm for early this morning. Windy day. Clouds and sun with the afternoon, high 76. Cloudy, windy, mild tonight, low 60. And then clouds and sun, breezy. Couple of brief showers tomorrow, the high 68. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan, and in for Amy J this morning, John Cass, johncassnews.com.
Good morning.
As I teased, Field Marshal Tim Walz, some of you know him as Tampon Tim, making the rounds around the country. Getting a head start on 28, although he's up in 26. We'll get some color on that. In Texas, for a live town hall with Bobby O'Rourke. Remember him when he was the hot young thing in the Dems Marxist circles?
What are they doing as a theatrical device? Loading M16s? What are they doing?
Right. Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think it was. It wasn't an M16. He had trouble loading
Double
a
barrel
shotgun.
Yeah, you can't even do that.
Walls taking questions from the audience. I mean, pretty good indication, or pretty unsurprising, the sort of person that would show up for the wit and wisdom of Tim Walz. Here's somebody who once upon a time would have been called an election denier by someone like Tim Walz.
I hope that y'all have seen the reports from cybersecurity experts that they've released analyses of election data out of Clark County, Nevada, that show some pretty convincing evidence of election tampering. My biggest fear is that we're not going to make it to the midterms. So what can we do to make sure, A, that the midterms actually happen, and B, that they're free of fraud?
Yeah. Well, this one's the core. We saw just recently Donald Trump's executive order to make it more difficult, specifically to women, trying to make it more difficult for women to be able to vote. We see one of the first things they do is try and restrict the vote. This is one of the things, though, that this is going to take power to the streets. And I don't know what the answer is on this.
Yeah, I'm sure you don't.
Power to the streets, huh?
Making it more difficult for women to vote. Does anybody care precisely how that is allegedly happening?
Doesn't matter. It's all about feelings.
I mean, these guys. And really, the midterms aren't going to happen, just like the 2024 election wasn't going to happen. And
when is the deadline for the Earth to destroy itself?
I mean, it's really something.
It was 12 years ago. About what? 10 years ago now.
There's just for years we got the hi hat on allegations of election irregularities, and now we get this from Tim and Bobby and their fans. Tim also, of course, nobody hates old white guys like an old white guy from Minnesota.
Pause for a moment and look around and look at. I'm especially talking about these old white guys who seem to disappoint us on a regular basis in this country.
Like you.
Oh, man. That is...
What's with the jazz hands, too? I don't understand
stuff.
That whole thing with him.
I just like the fact that Tim Walz is still on the scene and he's still, positioning for another national run. I sure hope so. John Hinderaker is the president and center of the American Experiment, contributor to Powerline, powerlineblog.com. John, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, great to be with you, Dan.
So the Tim Walz comedy tour rolls on here. He's gone. He went national as the running mate, of course, but he's staying national. Is he ever coming back home?
Minnesota's gift to our country.
Yeah.
But Tim Walz, I mean, the man is a one-man comedy tour. My favorite was when he, in front of one of these Democratic crowds, he talks about what a boost it gives him during the day to check on the Tesla stock price, which at that time was, actually by that time it had turned around and started rising. He was a little bit behind. And then it turned out that the state of Minnesota pension fund has got like a couple $100 million in Tesla stock. And Tim Walz, as governor, is the chairman of that fund. And apparently he had no clue, which for him is very typical.
Yes. That's a feature, not a bug, when it comes to Tim Walz.
What could we do to ensure that he's the nominee?
Oh, I don't know. His political future is kind of up in the air. This is his second term he's serving. We do not have term limits in Minnesota, so he can run for a third term in 2026. And apparently he is deliberating whether to do that. And he has talked rather seriously about jumping into the presidential race for 2028. So we may not have seen the last of him.
Just because it was so novel, what was happening in Minnesota with this abdication of state legislators when things didn't go their way in the midterm, in the 24 election, I should say. What is the status of the balance of power in the legislature, and have the Democrats returned from their abdication?
Well, they have. They boycotted the session because one of their members got caught cheating, didn't live in the district where he ran, so there was going to be a special election in that district. That made it 67-66 in favor of the GOP in the Minnesota House. So rather than participate in the election of a Republican speaker, every single Democrat boycotted the session. They kept the boycott going for about a month, but my organization mobilized citizens, did a huge campaign and mobilized citizens to bombard them with emails. We got 20,000 emails hitting these people demanding that they return to work. They were getting paid. They were drawing their paychecks, but not showing up to work. It was amazing. And they eventually caved. The Democrats crumbled. The 66 Democrats showed up to work, and that meant that we have a Republican Speaker of the House in Minnesota for the next 2 years. So that was a win for the Republicans. In the Senate, the DFLers continue to have a one-vote edge, and their one-vote advantage is going on trial for first-degree burglary as soon as the session is over. So things are wild and woolly here in Minnesota.
Do they think they're in Illinois or what? What are they doing?
Well, that comparison has been made a lot lately, John. I got to tell you. I mean, we are challenging for the title of the most corrupt state in America.
Well, what is happening politically in Minnesota, thinking to statewide and federal elections too? Because you've got a Tina Smith retirement that creates an open seat for 26.
Yeah, exactly. And a whole bunch of prominent Democrats have jumped into that race. I thought Tim Walz might get in, and he still might. His lieutenant governor is in. His secretary of state is in. There are rumors that Ilhan Omar might jump into that race. I'll tell you, the reality is that the Republicans have not won a statewide race in Minnesota since 2006.
We have to fund her, Ilhan Omar.
Say that again. I'm sorry, John.
We could fund her, right? Can we do crowdsourcing? I'll do it. As a refugee to Indiana.
It's going to be a cosmic primary. It's going to be really interesting to see what those Democrat voters do, and maybe that seat can be taken. The problem we have in Minnesota is that Hennepin County, by far the biggest county in the state, the DFL has got an amazing ballot harvesting operation going in Hennepin County, and with declining population in the very red rural areas of the state, it just becomes hard to catch up on a statewide basis. It could be done, but it can only be done if the Republicans have got a strong candidate at the top of the ticket, which in recent cycles we haven't had.
We were talking about it a bit before you joined us, but wanted to get your reaction to Brett Baer's interview of Elon Musk and company, the Doge boys, last night.
I haven't watched it. I don't know. What did they say?
Well, no, I mean, I think it was just it was more sort of a summary of what they've done and why they're doing it, and then Elon addressed some of the other ugliness too, like all the attacks on Tesla properties and Tesla owners. But I mean, it provided more bandwidth for the viewer in terms of understanding the sort of talent that's been assembled here, and the really honorable sort of motivations of the people who are devoting their time and talents to this.
You know, Dan, Republicans have been talking about shrinking the federal government for as long as I've been alive, and that's going to be kind of a long time. Now we have an administration that is actually trying to do it.
We can't understand
that. It's unbelievable. And I think the clear majority of the American people are with them, and they're going to have to fight off all these Democratic Party federal judges. And at the end of the day, the constitutional prerogatives of Congress and the executive when it comes to spending money are not very clear after all these years.
Where are we on that? Because it seems to me, I'm not a lawyer, obviously, but it seems to me that all that we're seeing is inexorably forcing the Supreme Court to make a decision here.
Well, I think the Supreme Court is going to have to make a number of decisions. Some of them are one-offs. So, for example, Trump's invocation of the Enemy Alien Act to just put Venezuelan gang members on airplanes and get them the heck out of here. I think that was legal. I think it was beautifully done, but that's something that ultimately the courts, I suppose, are going to sort out. But I think the fundamental one is the executive's powers with respect to spending and really being able to run the executive branch. You know, a lot of people believe that during the Nixon administration, there was a definitive Supreme Court ruling that the president can't impound money, that if Congress appropriates money, he has to spend it, like it or not. That's the Train case. The Train case does not say that. Neither party in that case raised any constitutional argument. It's a very specific reading of two sections in one particular water pollution control statute. So we really don't know, and the Supreme Court, I think, is going to have to decide what is the scope of the executive's power, of the president's power, to really effectively run the executive branch. Which if you listen to the Democrats, Trump really has no authority to do at all.
Yeah, right. Not even his explicit Article 2 powers. But the other thing the Supreme Court is going to have to weigh in is the extent of the power of the inferior courts with these federal district court judges, just operating beyond what should be their limitations, as Clarence Thomas argued in that case 6 years ago, as Alito has argued recently. I mean, that is going to be necessary, so you're not playing whack-a-mole with 800 federal district court judges like we are now.
But isn't that what the Democrats want? Whack-a-mole till beyond the
Well, thus does John Roberts's and then the Supreme Court's moral imperative to intercede here and offer a holding.
Exactly. What the Democrats want to do is tie the Trump administration up in knots so that when the midterms come, they can say, oh, look, the Trump administration hasn't gotten anything done.
Right. Well, and interesting that we've been talking about it quite a bit this week. Boy, the numbers coming out on Dems and the numbers coming out in terms of where the public is. 45% Mayor's poll think the country's on the right track. That sounds like a low number. It's the highest it's been since 2009. So, because we're a divided country. But those numbers combined with the numbers of where even Democrats think about what their party is doing at the congressional level, at least at this point, a long way to go, it is not obvious that we're just going to turn over the House in the midterms.
Well, it is so close. So when the Republicans have like a 3-seat margin or something, there's no room for error. And history is obviously not on their side, but we'll see. I mean, you talk about history. There's never really been a history like this. We'll see who's fired up for the midterms.
But what's your take? I mean, and I wonder how this is playing out in Minnesota too. Obviously, Tim Walz and J.B. Pritzker in Illinois, they are tripling down on the lines of attack that were offered in the 2024 cycle, where others, Gavin Newsom is doing a 180 reinvention, and others are suggesting that we need to walk away from some of these more polarizing cultural issues. So the Democrats are really sort of leaderless and rudderless.
I don't see him walking away, though. Do you, Dan? I mean, I see him firebombing Tesla dealerships. I don't see any move toward the center, certainly not in my state. Our Democrats are just, constantly moving farther to the left.
One question I asked Dan early on in this broadcast is, why is the left so addicted to violence? Can you help me with that?
Well, I think it probably just goes hand in hand with their general attitude toward politics, where politics is religion, politics is what gives meaning to their lives, politics is what defines their moral standing, I think that kind of extremism is inherent in what we're seeing in the Democratic Party today, and it's a very short step to go from, those attitudes to violence. My office was firebombed. The office of my organization, American Experiment, was firebombed a little over a year ago. We've seen this firsthand.
Yeah, well, and especially those that at the grassroots level, if you want to use that term. I mean, they're just sort of maladjusted, intellectually arrested children, is what they are.
Well, that's true. They're unhappy. They're unhappy, poorly adjusted people who kind of have it in for the world because their lives haven't gone well, and they seek salvation through politics.
But we also see them as supportive of a system that is heavily regulated, heavily, lawyered up so that the law is used as a cudgel and against the people who it's designed to help benefit.
Well, one of the strange things, of course, is that the Democrats are the party of the establishment, and so you have all these people rioting on behalf of the establishment. How does that work exactly?
There you go.
They're talking about this tour that Tim Walz and others have been on as the anti-oligarchy tour. It's really an anti-populism tour.
John Hinderaker, president of the Center of the American Experiment, contributor to Powerline, powerlineblog.com. John, thanks for joining us. Good luck with your knucklehead governor.
Thanks a lot, guys.
And he joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
The Overly Dramatic Reading Club. The League of Extraordinary Couch Potatoes. The alliance of people who always forget their passwords.
Do you have a large group?
We have just the table to accommodate them.
The Benevolent Brotherhood of Bad Jokes.
Meet the Benoit table from Penny Mustard.
One table to seat them all.
The Secret Cabal of Not-So-Secret Secrets. The Order of the Mismatched Socks.
The Benoit table is customized with your choice of wood and stain.
Edge and apron.
Shape and legs.
It's perfect for groups of all sizes, including
the prestigious Society of Random Shenanigans.
And
the International Confederation of Awkward Handshakes.
And
the Society for the Sincere Appreciation of Unnecessarily Long-Winded Club Names.
Are these clubs real?
Pay your dues and find out.
The Benoit Dining Room, starting at just $61.98 at Penny Mustard.
7 locations throughout Chicagoland.
PennyMustard.com.
Better versions of what people want.
Penny Mustard Furnishing.
That shot was money, Lisa. Hey, speaking of, did you ever figure out what to do with your parents' old coin collection?
Not yet. I need a reputable dealer to appraise them. I have no clue what they're worth.
I just finished working on my dad's estate collections. I took it all to Fox Valley Coins. Their customer service was the best. Plus, they're super honest and reputable, but most importantly, experienced. They'll give you the best prices.
Really? They handle estate collections?
Absolutely. Buying, selling, appraising, they do it all. It was quick and simple, and we maintained our privacy. Fox Valley Coins made the whole process easy.
That's exactly what I need. Are they local?
Right in Naperville. They have an easy website to remember. FoxValleyCoins.com.
Perfect. Now let's see if you can return this shot.
Whether buying or selling or just want valuation, Fox Valley Coins is your trusted gold and silver dealer. Visit Fox Valley Coins, 1 light north of I-88 on Route 59 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. FoxValleyCoins.com. Family-owned integrity since 1981.
Across the country, states are embracing school choice and offering vouchers to families to send students to whichever school they want, including private schools. Unfortunately, lawmakers in Illinois have resisted this trend despite all the benefits of private education. Well, we have a solution if you want to send your child to a private school. It's called ChicagolandSchoolVouchers.com. It's simple. Just visit ChicagolandSchoolVouchers.com and tell us which private school you want to send your child to. Then we contact the school on your behalf and work to secure a voucher for half off the first year of tuition, typically saving thousands of dollars for families. The program only applies to new students who are not currently enrolled in the school. So if you've been considering sending your child to a private school and thought that it was financially out of reach, go to ChicagolandSchoolVouchers.com to learn more and start the process today. That's ChicagolandSchoolVouchers.com.
And paid for by the Sentinel Group. Has video game addiction shattered your family? You're not alone.
Today's $200 billion video game industry intentionally hooks kids, fueling isolation, chaos, depression, even suicide attempts. According to a recent American Psychological Association study, compulsive gaming significantly increases the risk of severe depression and self-harm among teens. Your family may qualify for significant compensation. Call now for your free consultation. 800-856-9519. That's 800-856-9519. Big gaming profits while families suffer. Enough is enough. It's time these powerful companies answer for the harm they've caused. This is not a class action. Your family has individual rights, and your voice matters. Fight back, hold them accountable, and protect others from experiencing the same pain. Call 800-856-9519 now. Again, 800-856-9519. Your call matters. Call 800-856-9519. That's 800-856-9519.
AM 560, The Answer.
John, you watching any good series?
Yeah, I'm watching again 1923, which I like. And I can't wait for The Amateur. I can't wait for our next guest to talk about it.
Yeah, I checked out Ridley Scott's new series, Dope Thief. It's on Apple.
Mm-hmm.
It's only 3 episodes in. It's pretty good. Pretty good. Anyway, yeah, we're going to talk about those things, as well as the son of the producer of Snow White torches Rachel Zegler. So that's entertaining. And to help us with entertainment is Christian Toto. HollywoodInToto.com. That's at 7:37. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 49 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer Newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. The Trump administration is revoking hundreds of student visas. On Thursday, Senator Marco Rubio said 300 or more student visas are being revoked as the White House targets students who express their support of Palestine. Rubio called these students lunatics and said his team is working on repealing more student visas every day. Police in the south suburbs are investigating an alleged case of squatters who are house hopping. A pair of property owners in Hazel Crest say a group of people with 2 dogs moved into their vacant home and wouldn't leave. After paying the occupants to vacate, they saw a story on television about a man in Tinley Park who claimed squatters had moved into his home and refused to leave. Hazel Crest police said the suspects connected with other alleged squatting cases. Authorities are now working with the Cook County State's Attorney's Office to see if crimes of extortion or fraud were involved. News is a service of Salem Surround, providing your business with industry-leading digital marketing strategy designed to surround your target audience and drive action. Go to surroundchicago.com today. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Larry Elder doesn't expect to see any judges impeached.
Altogether, there have been 15 federal judges who have been impeached. None was impeached for making bad judicial decisions, using wrong-headed interpretations of precedents, or unpopular judicial decisions. Not one.
The Larry Elder Show. Weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer.
Patrick was way behind on his IRS taxes.
I was in way over my head. The total amount ended up being somewhere just over $30,000. $30,000.
Then the IRS came to collect.
Started getting letter after letter. A lien had been filed against me. They were going to basically hang me completely out to dry.
He had to do something.
That's when I reached out to Optima Tax Relief.
Patrick's life quickly got a lot easier.
It was very easy. Pretty much hands off, They picked up the ball and ran with it.
And how'd it go?
I couldn't believe it. I had to ask 2 or 3 times. I saved an incredible amount of money.
How does Patrick feel about Optima?
Couldn't be happier. They definitely helped me. Optima Tax Relief, the best place to call. They're the best in the business.
Do what Patrick did and call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
It's Dr. David Goldberg. Hey, let me tell you about our age analysis assessment. It takes just a few seconds to scan for those advanced glycated end products that cause premature aging. And then we'll briefly go over your results and give you a few things for you to do to improve. And then we'll retest you in about 60 days. And you'll pay our special low price for your first assessment, and I'll pay for your second one. That's right. Your follow-up age analysis assessment is on me. And we're going to compare your biologic age with your chronologic age, and then we're going to help you determine if your biologic age is on par with your chronologic age. But you got to make that call today, not tomorrow, but today. It's our Health Quest radio hotline, 800-794-1855. That's 800-794-1855. Second assessment free if you make that call right now. 800-794-1855. It's Health Quest Radio with me, Dr. David Kolbaba, Saturday mornings at 11.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hawkburg Traffic Center. The Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 15 minutes. Outbound, 14 minutes. Now on the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, about 18 minutes. Outbound from the Burn Interchange to Montrose, about 18 minutes as well. Now on the Eisenhower, this is going to be inbound from Wolf to the post office, about 17 minutes, 19 minutes outbound. On the Stevenson, from this tri-state out to Lakeshore Drive inbound, that's about 18 minutes. Outbound, it's a different story. We do have a stalled semi blocking a center lane that's going to be right around county line. That's got you pretty slow in the area. Traffic's a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com, making smiles great again. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a quick check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Increasingly windy, clouds and a couple of showers. Thunderstorm early this morning, then partly sunny by the afternoon. High today 76. Tonight cloudy, windy and mild, low 60. Clouds and breaks of sun tomorrow. Breezy, couple of brief showers. High 68. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Top of the morning, Dan, and in for John this morning is, in for Amy this morning is John Cass, johncassnews.com. And John, Rachel Zegler, the star, hopefully fading one at that, of Snow White. Boy, a lot of stuff keeps coming out of her because she's been running her mouth for the last 3 years, as we know. This is a sampling of Rachel Zegler.
Our rights are on the line, folks. Our reproductive rights. Come on. Go vote blue. And if you disagree with this sentiment, just hit the unfollow button. I don't need your business. Thanks.
You don't need my business.
She went on.
Good. I'm not going to watch your damn movie either.
She went on to declare, quote, "May Trump supporters and Trump voters and Trump himself never know peace." And according to a report, Disney hired a social media expert to work with Rachel Zegler after she spent all that time on social media torturing Trump supporters. She also has, the sort of complex, boy.
And I can only hope that despite my flaws and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them, that at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
She compared herself. Snow White for starters. She compared herself to the famous statue Winged Victory at the Louvre. Well, this is interesting because Snow White is not meeting expectations, which was about $250 million to put together, not meeting box office expectations. And the son of the producer of Snow White, a guy named Jonah Platt, she posted, your dad flew to New York City to reprimand a young actress. Any words on this? Because that's creepy as hell and uncalled for. People have the right of free speech. No? Shame on your father. He responded, you really want to do this? Yeah, my dad, the producer of an enormous piece of Disney IP with hundreds of millions of dollars on the line, had to leave his family to fly across the country to reprimand his 20-year-old employee for dragging her personal politics into the middle of promoting the movie for which she signed a multi-million-dollar contract to get paid and do publicity for this. This is called adult responsibility and accountability, and her actions clearly hurt the film's box office. Free speech does not mean you're allowed to say whatever you want in your private employment without repercussions. He goes on to say something that was actually a really good point. Tens of thousands of people worked on that film, and she hijacked the conversation for her own immature desires at the risk of all the colleagues and crew and blue-collar workers who depend on that movie to be successful. Narcissism is not something to be coddled or encouraged.
But they've been encouraging it for years.
Well,
This is the
yeah,
left.
I mean, I suppose they chose Rachel Zegler, having to have some insight into who she is and how she might behave. Anyway, Christian Toto joins us now. He's the host of the Hollywood in Toto podcast, Hollywood in Toto, TOTO.com. Christian, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. John just nailed it. I don't even think you guys need me because the media and the culture in Hollywood, they've been encouraging this kind of activism for years, this kind of selfish, politically charged banter. They want it, they thrive on it, they reproduce it, and they ask all the stars every time they're on the red carpet politically charged questions, hoping they'll get a Zegler-esque question. But this one just happened to blow up on their faces in spectacular fashion. And I think this may be a watershed moment where actors maybe sort of kind of finally realize that they can tank their own projects with what they say. Listen, when you go in the red carpet, you're there to promote your movie. That's all you're there for. That's all the job entails. And they can't do it.
Republicans buy shoes too. Didn't Michael Jordan say that?
He did.
Yeah, I mean, that's and listen, Johnny Carson knew that as well.
Right.
I just don't understand. You know, when an actor goes on the red carpet or appears on Colbert or does any of that stuff, they're not there because they want to be there. They're there because they're contractually obligated to promote their product, their movie, their TV show, their book, whatever. And yet they keep doing this. This is just the most egregious example. And you know, listen, she's only 23. She's a young woman. She's deluded, clearly. But she has talent. She has a bright future on paper in front of her. I would love for her to give an interview where she said, gosh, I screwed up. I made it all about me. I've learned a lot from this. I feel dumb. You know, I let my colleagues down. Wouldn't that be refreshing? But I don't know if she's got that in her.
Yeah, I mean, she could have had that moment when she was saying, "I've got a lot of cracks and this and that," but then to compare herself to Winged Victory and people, I mean, it's just like she couldn't hold it together.
Well, no, that she gave a very recent interview, and she was talking about how, she was discovered on West Side Story. That was the Spielberg remake, and now more recently, one of her interviews said, "Yeah, when I was on the set, the white producers were trying to say, 'Are you really Latina? Are you this?'" And she's like, "Do I have to bring out my abuelita?" I mean, she can't stop playing the victim.
Yeah. Well, she was trained.
One in a million story.
The culture has trained her. She's a product of the culture. The culture has trained her to. Now, how badly is it doing in the box office? How bad?
Well, you know, the first weekend was rather poor. I think about 42 million. And, you know, for most movies, that's a good number. But when you have a movie with this kind of budget and these kind of expectations, that's terrible. And I think it's officially the worst live action adaptation numbers for Disney. You know, listen, it's got the field mostly to itself for the next few weeks as far as new kid films and Minecraft movies coming out soon, so that'll dip into it as well. But I don't think there's good word of mouth. I think the cinema score was modest at best. The reviews were terrible. So I just don't think it has the legs. It'll kind of eke out an existence and make some cash, but because the budget was so big, it just won't make up for it. It's going to be a loss.
Well, the other thing too, with respect to that producer's kid, the other thing they have to take ownership of, and I haven't seen it, but I've read reviews of it that characterize it as turning the Snow White story into the woke Snow White story. And Rachel Zegler, when she was out quote unquote promoting the film, was talking about that. The original, of course, was so 1937, and we're not going to be the Snow White's not going to be saved by a handsome prince. It's going to be she's coming into her own as a leader in the modern world, whatever sort of neo-feminist nonsense. So they made some creative choices too that probably aren't helping.
Is the prince a rapist in this one?
No, but you're absolutely right. Listen, this is a different story. I think the first 2/3 of the story is similar, and the third act really goes on its own direction. There's two quick things about that. One is, listen, they have that right, and I didn't listen. I found it woke as heck. Absolutely, that's kind of what I do. But I have to admit, I found it somewhat entertaining. I think that Rachel Zegler is good on screen with a lovely voice. So if you are willing to ride with that and go with the changes, I think it's an acceptable film. But, I think what's interesting about woke is it's trying to fix things that were broken. But was Snow White broken? It's an iconic film that people love. So I think there's a big misconception there. But, yeah, it isn't just her. But, she's becoming a wonderful scapegoat. She's partially to blame. But, Rachel Zegler didn't say that little people in the film would be problematic and then, insert them via CGI. That's not on her. That's on Disney. So they made some missteps along the way, too.
By the way, how much did Peter Dinklage make playing a dwarf? And then he's denying all the other dwarfs a chance to make real money.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Listen, he's a great actor. He works constantly.
Actor. Right.
And him sort of pulling up the ladder, not letting other little people get some gigs. Listen, discrimination against little people in Hollywood. I mean, how many times do you see little people in traditional basic roles? It just doesn't happen in Hollywood, and that's Hollywood's fault. But this was a moment where some little people actors could get significant screen time to show what they can do, and they didn't get it.
A few bucks.
I saw that, apparently that the message that the ecosystem sent to Rachel Zegler did not make its way to Tim Roth, who I do like as an actor, but he's pulling the Nazi card on Trump.
It's so exhausting. I mean, it's almost like they're reading from a script, a playbook. And I mentioned this a couple of minutes ago, is that the reason why they're shooting these answers off is because the people, the reporters, the journalists want these answers, and they promote these answers, and they provoke those answers. So if you got a Tim Roth on the red carpet or an interview, say, hey, by the way, you've done some project that overlaps, barely with politics 10 years ago. What do you think about Trump? I mean, that's what you get that. But listen, these are people who live in a bubble. They just don't get it. They don't understand. They probably think that Kamala Harris was articulate, bright, and just the greatest candidate in the history of mankind. So, of course, you get these answers. But you know what?
She was misunderstood.
Shame on... Shame on Hollywood for being absolutely stone cold silent on censorship over the last 10 years. They've done nothing. They've said nothing, with very few exceptions, like Rob Schneider and John Cleese. They just sit there, and the Twitter files come and go, and the Biden censorship of the big tech platforms and kicking off presidents off social media. They either cheered or said nothing. So shame on them, because that's the one issue they should be talking about.
But isn't that a great story? I mean, it would be a great dramatic story, would it not? Get some great actors to play the roles.
Well, they don't want to do that. They don't want to tell the truth. That's not what they're in this for. I mean, they've got their own little story they want to tell. When the Sarah Jessica Parkers and LeVar Burton come out about book bans. Well, how about sensitivity readers basically slicing and dicing through history? Books by Roald Dahl and Ian Fleming and Agatha Christie, they got censored. I didn't hear a peep out of Sarah Jessica Parker, LeVar Burton. Shame on them too.
Yeah, right. And I mean, the word you use is perfect, exhausting. We before you joined us, we're talking about a series that we're watching now. John has just got the whole Taylor Sheridan oeuvre in a continuous loop. But I picked up Dope Thief, Ridley Scott's new offering. It's just only a few episodes in, but that's pretty good. I don't know if you've watched that yet or what you're watching now, but always interested.
I caught up. I ran through Landman, which is the Taylor Sheridan, one of the newer stories, and I absolutely adored it. I mean, my gosh, Billy Bob Thornton is just a genius, and the writing in the show is so good. So I'm with you on the Sheridan. I do watch more movies than TV. That's just kind of what I do. But I have been watching White Lotus, which is getting a lot of attention. And I have to say, it's not as good as the first 2 seasons, which I thought were terrific. But this one's more shock-based, with there's an incest storyline and this and that. So it's finally getting a little bit better. Things are finally starting to happen. But it's a great cast. It's beautifully shot. The music is compelling, but it just is a shadow of its old self.
I know people ask you about their favorites, and I have to ask you about mine. Years ago, I watched John Savage play a CIA analyst in The Amateur, and I loved it. It was a TV movie or something back in the 80s or 70s. And now I see The Amateur coming back out in another iteration.
Yeah, I think that's Rami Malek is coming soon. I don't know too much about that. By the way, I love John Savage. I grew up watching him, and one of my favorite movies as a child, and I'm no musical fan, was Hair, and he was so good in that, along with the great Treat Williams. But John Savage has a special place in my heart. One of my late dad's favorite actors too.
So, film recommendations.
Oh gosh, where do I?
I understand. I'm trying to think of something I've seen recently that I thought was really good, because I watch a lot of movies too.
Go ahead.
No, that's why I'm asking for film recommendations.
Yeah. I enjoyed A Working Man. It comes out this weekend. It's the new Jason Statham movie. It's pure Jason Statham. I think he does the same thing every time, but I think he's very enjoyable to watch on screen. One film I want to give you a heads up on. It's coming out next weekend. I don't know how wide, but I think semi-wide. It's called The Friend. It's about a woman who has to adopt a Great Dane because her old good friend, played by Bill Murray, dies and leaves her the dog. This is Naomi Watts. She's a great actress. And let me tell you, it's a must-love dogs movie, because if you don't love dogs, you won't get it. But it is really sweet, and I've never seen a dog act with the job that this Great Dane does. It's a really powerful story.
There's a website called Does the Dog Die? Or at least there used to be a website.
Oh, gosh.
I cannot watch a movie if the dog dies.
I completely get that. I can't spoil it, but I just say if you're a dog lover, you should definitely watch this movie. I will say that's I can't say anything more than that.
I'll have to find you then.
Well, first of all, on Jason Statham, I agree with you on Statham. You know who else I really like too? He's sort of a poor man's Jason Statham. He doesn't have the same notoriety, but he's almost as prolific, probably more prolific actually, is Scott Adkins. What do you think of Scott Adkins? Do you ever watch his action films?
Australian?
He's British, I think.
Yeah, he is interesting as well. Certainly a much lower profile.
Yeah.
I think what these guys do is they have a real brand and they lean into it. I think that actors today like to expand and grow, and I totally respect that. It's perfectly fine. I understand you want to kind of test your limits, but I have to say I almost wish that a Statham would stretch more and would dig in more. And even his new movie, which is very good, I feel like there's ways you could see it kind of getting a little bit more interesting, a little bit more textured, but that's not what he does. By the way, he's 57. He moves like a 30-year-old. I don't know what's going on with his biology, but God bless him. Oh, also, just a quick warning, The Alto Nights is out in theaters. It's Robert De Niro playing 2 roles. You're going to want to see it because it's De Niro, because it's a mob movie, because, memories. It's awful. Avoid it at all costs.
It's awful. Avoided at all costs.
I love hearing that.
Okay, that's good.
Great actor, boy,
but I did want to mention actually, per your recommendation. I mean, it was a nominee for Best Picture, and I was going to see it anyway. But I did see The Brutalist, and I got maybe you were too effusive about it. I don't know, but I didn't find it to be the sweeping epic that you described. Not to mention, I mean that the one scene with Guy Pearce taking advantage of him. That was. I thought that was like over the top gratuitous. I understand what was being conveyed there, but I thought it was a little bit gratuitous.
I didn't like that scene either. I didn't think it was necessary, and I agree. I just mentioned the White Lotus. There's a scene in there from a recent episode which felt of a similar line, like they're trying to be crazy and outrageous and provocative. But sometimes a good story doesn't need that. Sometimes you and that's one of the things I liked about that Friend movie, by the way, with the dog, is that it's a very quiet, subtle, measured, mannered movie where you can read a lot from it, but it's not doing a lot of crazy, outrageous things.
Christian Toto is the host of the Hollywood in Toto podcast, Hollywood in Toto, TOTO.com, HollywoodinToto.com. Christian, thank you as always.
My pleasure.
Love your work, man.
And Christian Toto joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
At AlmostFreeTeeth.com, they're dedicated to making smiles great again. If you have medical PPO insurance, find out how you could save 90% off on average to get a beautiful dental implant-supported smile. Check if you qualify right now at AlmostFreeTeeth.com.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Tony Dreyfus, founder and president of Metropolis Coffee Company and a proud new customer of Signature Bank. We're a 19-year-old specialty coffee roaster located in the heart of Chicago. Some of your favorite restaurants and cafes serve our coffee. As a small business manufacturer, we understand the importance of working with the right bank, and that's why we made the move to Signature Bank. We were tired of the impersonal service that our large bank had provided. A friend referred us to Signature Bank, and their team was on site to understand our operations firsthand. They provided us the working capital to continue our successful business operations and to fuel our ambitions for innovation and growth. We now have the flexibility to grow at our own pace. That personal touch, you can't find that at a large bank, but we found it at Signature, and we can't thank them enough.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality. Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Business owners, now's the time for your business to make the move to a locally owned business bank. Hi, Mike Gallagher here to let you know that you don't have to look far. Signature Bank was founded in Chicago with a simple mission to help companies like yours grow, succeed, and thrive. Their decisions are made locally by a terrific team that knows your name, cares about your business, and invests in your success. That's why Signature Bank is my bank. I'm a customer. As business owners, they knew that local family-owned businesses were not getting the help they needed or deserved. So I invite you to reach out to my friends at Signature Bank today. Write the number down. Remember this phone number, Signature Bank, 773-467-5630, and learn all about this great bank, 773-467-5630, or visit them online at signaturebank.bank. That's signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank makes commercial banking personal. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life. AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and John Cass in for Amy. And John, I had all the fun lampooning NPR CEO Catherine Maher per her testimony before the DOGE committee yesterday. So I wanted to give you an opportunity. This exchange with Jim Jordan over the commentary from Uri Berliner from last year upon leaving NPR because it was just an intolerable place to be if you were a serious journalist. And,
is NPR biased?
Congressman, I have never seen any instance of political bias determining editorial decisions. No.
Well, Mr. Berliner, in his story last year, wrote, in the D.C. area, editorial positions at NPR, he said he found 87 registered Democrats, 0 Republicans. Is that accurate?
We do not track the numbers or the voter registration, but I find that
concerning. Was award-winning journalist who worked 25 years at NPR, Mr. Berliner, was he lying when he wrote that?
I am not presuming such. I just we don't track that information about our journalists.
87 to 0, and you're not biased?
I think that is concerning if those numbers are accurate.
It's concerning. I mean, it wasn't 44-43. It wasn't 60-27. It wasn't 70-17. It wasn't even 80-7. It was 87 Democrats 0 Republicans, and you say NPR is not biased.
What say you, John?
I'd say if I threw a bucket of water on her, would I be charged with a crime? Because that's how you burn a witch, right? Throw the bucket of water on her.
Okay.
This woman gives. You know what? You fished in that river up north, haven't you?
I have.
Listening to her talk about news is like walking into an icy river up north without waders. You know what I mean?
It's that piercing.
It's that, yes, all-encompassing and piercing at the same time.
87-0. I mean, not to mention it, but just the idea that she has never witnessed a bias in editorial decision making. Well, of course not, because to continue your metaphor, she's a fish in water. Of course she's never seen bias. Everybody agrees with her. What's bias? Where's the bias? We all agree.
There's no bias here.
Coming up at 8:08, the only thing more entertaining than listening to the DOGE boys talk about cutting government spending and complaining about government waste, fraud, and abuse is listening to two lefties do it. Jon Stewart and Ezra Klein at 8:08. It is now 8 a.m. on AM 560 WIND, and time for the news.
Searching for survivors. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. In the rubble of a powerful earthquake, a magnitude 7.7 that struck Burma and Bangkok, Thailand.
I was in my lazy boy, and all of a sudden it moved back and forth, and then it toppled over.
She's lucky she wasn't hurt. At least 3 others were killed when a building under construction collapsed in Bangkok, leaving dozens of others trapped, missing under the debris. There are also images of destruction in Burma and varying reports of deaths there. Nothing confirmed by the military-run government, and there's also quake damage in China. Vice President Vance and his wife Usha on their way to Greenland, along with the National Security Advisor and Energy Secretary, visiting the Denmark territory President Trump wants the U.S. to take over.
The headline of this visit is going to be a stop at the Bidufik Air Space Base. It's about halfway between the U.S. and northern Russia, so it's about as important a location for missile warning and missile defense as anywhere on the planet. But there are also some space missions that remain mostly classified that launch from there.
That's Fox's Peter Doocy at the White House. Greenland is resisting that U.S. push for control. Israel's gone on the attack in Lebanon months after a ceasefire with Hezbollah, which Israel blames for rockets launched into northern part of that country. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is in the Philippines, a strategic military partner in the Pacific, countering China.
We are doubling down on that partnership, and our ironclad alliance has never been stronger.
Well, Hegseth remains caught up in the Signal group chat controversy. Democrats want fully investigated after a journalist was mistakenly invited into that chat discussing U.S. military action against Houthi militants in Yemen. A federal judge has ordered the chat messages be preserved. We just got an update on inflation showing a 0.4% increase last month in the Personal Consumption Expenditures Index. The annual inflation rate remained at 2.5%. There was a slight increase in the more closely watched core rate, though. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It's 51 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560. The Answer Newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Elon Musk says he doesn't think he'll be working at the Department of Government Efficiency much longer. Speaking to Fox News, Musk says he believes DOGE will reach their goal amount of government waste and fraud removed within his 130-day mandate.
We are cutting the waste and fraud in real time. So every day that passes, our goal is to reduce the waste and fraud by $4 billion a day, every day, 7 days a week.
130 days is the legal time frame given to a special government employee to stay on the job. He believes he can cut the deficit by $1 trillion within that time that started in November. The family of a 2-year-old who died of a medical episode is suing a South suburban daycare, accusing it of negligence in the boy's death. The lawsuit says Jalen Branch was at Grandma Joe's daycare in Calumet City on February 20th when staff members put him down for a nap. The youngster suffered a medical event during the nap time and eventually died. The suit says the staff knew that little Jalen had a history of having seizures. The boy's mother, Jasmine Bailey, is seeking a jury trial and a judgment against the daycare of at least $50,000. Repairs have gotten underway on the bridge carrying Oakton Street over the Des Plaines River. The project consists of repairing the existing bridge decks, replacing expansion joints, and installing a new concrete deck overlay. Work is expected to be completed sometime in August. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes, but now time for the Signature Bank Business Beat.
I'm Maria Bartiromo, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Stock futures are under pressure again today as investors brace for more tariffs from the Trump administration next week. Wall Street will be reacting today to the PCE price index for February, the inflation reading. Gold prices rose to a record today, $3,080 an ounce. Investors are putting their money in gold, seen as a safe haven from trade disputes. Artificial intelligence cloud company CoreWeave goes public today on the NASDAQ, though its launch price is below expectations. It's priced at $40 a share. A big name in trucks is working on integrating artificial intelligence into military vehicles. Daimler Truck is partnering with ARX Robotics, a Munich-based defense startup. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Cosola. Invested in you.
This week on Capitol Hill is the best way to get informed on everything going on with Congress. Hosted by Tony Perkins and the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson.
The House Republicans are building muscle memory now for winning. We have a string of wins under our belt, and it's good to be underestimated, Tony. We are going to deliver the America First agenda for the American people.
Stay informed and become a regular listener. This week on Capitol Hill, Sundays at 1 on AM 560. The Answer.
This is Hugh Hewitt for townhall.com. What is the congressional GOP waiting for? President Trump needs to remind his friends on the Hill that time is slipping away. Nothing is certain in American politics, especially majorities, and the title charts of federal elections have proven pretty reliable over the years. According to those title charts, the GOP should get thumped in November 2026. In order to avoid that thumping, Republicans would do well to pay attention to the remarks of Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell last week. In a word, I'd describe his projection on the economy as meh, 1.7% GDP growth in 2025. And Republicans in 2026 can't afford meh. President Trump should summon the leaders of his party in Congress to the Teddy Roosevelt room and get the budget and the reconciliation package done now. Yeah, it's hard work, but it's nothing like farming or a multi-use land development project. It certainly pales in comparison to what the party would face if indeed Republicans get a thumping next year.
Why pay more for prescriptions? Stop overpaying and start saving with SingleCare. It's easy. Find your prescription on singlecare.com, show the coupon at the pharmacy, and start saving. SingleCare works at pharmacies nationwide and is completely free to use, whether you have insurance or not. So the next time you fill a prescription, check SingleCare to make sure you're getting the best price. Take control of your prescription costs. Go to singlecare.com or download the free app today.
Only two things in life are certain, death and taxes. How about one more? Switch from Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile to cut your bill in half with Pure Talk. For just $25 a month, you get unlimited talk, text, 5 gigs of data on America's most dependable 5G network. Making the switch, it's simple, fast, and easy. You dial pound 250, you say the keyword Pure Talk, and make the switch. You do it now, you save an additional 50% off your first month. Pure Talk, wireless, by Americans, for Americans.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center. The Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, no delays. Same thing on the outbound side. On the Kennedy from Montrose to the Burn interchange, 19 minutes, about a 9-minute delay. On the outbound side, 22 minutes, about a 13-minute delay. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the old post office, about 20 minutes. On the opposite direction, the outbound side, it's about 22 minutes. On the Stevenson from Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, about 16 minutes. On the outbound side, also about 16 minutes. On the Dan Ryan, on the inbound side from 95 to the Burn interchange, about 15 minutes. Outbound side, it's about 12 minutes. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a quick check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Cloudy skies, shower and thunderstorm for early this morning. Windy day. Clouds and sun by the afternoon, high 76. Cloudy, windy, mild tonight, low 60. And then clouds and sun, breezy. Couple of brief showers tomorrow, the high 68. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan, and in for Amy J this morning, John Cass, johncassnews.com.
Hey, Danny.
We talked quite a bit earlier in the program about Bret Baier's sit-down with Elon Musk and the DOGE team. But I thought this exchange on Jon Stewart's podcast, yes, Jon Stewart's podcast, with Ezra Klein is almost better. Two men of the left aghast at the regulatory Rube Goldberg schemes their fellow travelers come up with, that DOGE and the Trump administration is dealing with, because, of course, it's slashing some pages from the Federal Register in addition to reducing the overall spend. That's the charge. So this is a long clip, but it's worth it. Because if to hear a snippet does not give you the full appreciation, and frankly, Ezra Klein, if you don't know him, he was the founder of Vox.com. He's New York Times columnist. But he's got the drop on the Biden's Build Back Better, as it pertains to rural broadband. For one example, he's got the drop on it. And it is, you have to hear it all, not only to fully appreciate the inanity of it, but also to hear the comments, particularly from Jon Stewart, as Ezra Klein is detailing this. And so, these are guys who consider themselves men of the left, but they're sort of commonsensical and they're solution oriented. I don't know that that's quite accurate, but again, the interplay between the two as you go through this thing is so telling about the federal government and really government in general.
We have to issue the notice of funding opportunity within 180 days. That's step one. Step two, which all 56 state applicants completed, is states who want to participate must submit a letter of intent. After they do that, they can submit a request for up to $5 million in planning grants. Then the NTIA, step four, has to review and approve and award, again, planning grants, not broadband grants, planning grants.
And it's still at the NTIA. It's still at the first step.
All right, so the NTIA must issue a NOFA within 180 days. States who want to participate must submit their letter of intent. Step three, they can request up to $5 million in planning grants.
Just planning.
Just planning. Step four, the requests are reviewed, approved, and awarded by the NTIA, which currently all 56, 3 years later, all 56 applicants had passed through at least step five. It took more than 3 years. So it's a long time. States must submit a 5-year action plan. So the states kind of go back and they kind of think about how they're going to do this. And they don't just say, okay, thank you for the money. We're going to spend it. And you can see how it worked out later. We're like, here's our 5-year action plan. Then the FCC must publish the broadband data maps before NTIA allocates funds. So having done the NOFO, the letters of intent, the request for planning grants, then the review, approval, and awarding of the planning grants, then the 5-year action plans. In between that, the federal government has to put forward a map saying where it thinks we need rural broadband subsidies. And then, of course, the states need an opportunity to challenge the map for accuracy. And you can imagine this doesn't all happen in like a day. Okay, so then the NTIA, step 7, has to use the FCC maps to make allocation decisions. Then, having already done their letter of intent, their request for planning grants, it's hard even to talk about this, man. Step 7 is NTIA must use the FCC maps that were already challenged for allocation decisions. Then, having submitted all this, I think this one is actually quite amazing. Yeah. Having submitted their 5-year plans or letters of intent, step 8 is states must submit an initial proposal to the NTIA. Then,
is that the result of their $5 million planning fund? This initial
I assume,
proposal?
But then what was the 5-year plan?
And what the did they apply for? What was their NOFO?
Like, if the 5-year action plan isn't the initial proposal, then what's the 5-year action
plan? Forget NOFO,
okay.
MOFO.
Step 9, NTIA must review and approve each state's, again, initial proposal. By my read, we have had at least 2 initial proposals here, but that's a different issue.
Oh, my God.
Step 10, states must publish their own map and allow internal challenges to their own map. So the government has published a map. They have invited the states to challenge the map. Then states have submitted initial proposals, and they then have to publish their own map and allow challenges.
Wait, who's challenging it within the state?
Well, organized interest groups, environmental groups, like I don't know who specifically, but literally anybody. This is, right. I want to say something because it's very important I say this. This is the Biden administration's process for its own bill. They wanted this to happen. This is how liberal government works now.
This is something they instituted for this bill.
For their bill. This is a bill passed by Democrats with a regulatory structure written by Democratic administration. Okay.
Right.
Step 11. The NTIA must review and improve the challenge results and the final map. So the NTIA has put forward a map. The states have challenged that map. Then the states have put forward their maps, had other challenges. And now the NTIA must review and approve the challenges to the state maps. Okay. So we've done step 11. NTIA must review and approve challenge results and final map. We've lost 9 of the applicants at that point. Step 12. States must run a competitive sub-granting process.
Oh my God. At step 12, after all this has been done.
Yeah, none of that could have happened along the way here. We have now lost 17 more applicants. So now 30 of 56 have completed step 12. Step 13, states must submit a final proposal. All the proposals weren't enough to NTIA. Now that goes to 3 of 56. So we've gone in the last couple steps from 56 had gone to this point to 3 of 56. Step 14, the NTIA must review and approve the state's final proposal. And that is 3 of the 56 jurisdictions and states are there. In summary, states are nearly at the finish line. And it says to stop their progress now, or worse, to make them go backwards, would be a stick in the spokes of the most promising broadband deployment plans we have ever seen.
Stick in the spokes.
I'm speechless, Ezra, honestly.
Well, that's how a $42.5 billion plan for rural broadband 3 years later has not one new person connected to the internet.
But listening to that is why people want to drink in the morning sometimes.
Well, I mean, you get these stats that that we did the same thing. $7.5 billion for EV changing stations, and 2.5 years after the $7.5 billion is allocated, 7 stations are installed. You want to say, how does that happen, or how does it not happen? I guess it's more accurate. Well, this is how it not happens. 312-642-5600 turnkey.princeton. But don't you just enjoy Jon Stewart's frustration and incredulity over the expansive government he otherwise supports. Everybody, Build Back Better. I mean, there was no opposition from the left to Build Back Better. We got to spend. Oh, we're going to spend on this. We're going to spend on that. Because you can just make promises and things happen.
And
this is the difference. And this is the difference between people that are, hard-headed and real solutionists like Elon Musk. It's easy to say we're going to throw money in the air and these things are going to magically appear. Like Elon Musk, rockets are hard. These things are difficult.
Yeah.
These things are difficult, particularly if you have no actual interest in outcomes. You're only interested in outputs. You're only interested in the inputs because all you want is the press release and the political benefit of having spent other people's money, and assuming, because it's been safe to assume this for so long, that there are no consequences to $42.5 billion not getting anyone connected to the internet, or $7.5 billion for 7 charging stations. There's no consequences. There would be if it was Tesla setting up those charging stations to their bottom line. But when it's Mayor Pete doing it, and with a compliant press corps that serves as his PR agency, and the same thing with the Biden administration, then, we got to keep spending to keep from going bankrupt, as Joe Biden famously said.
Hey.
How about it?
It's exhausting. Did we talk about that earlier? Who used that? You or Toto?
No, exhausting was how Christian Toto described Tim Roth, but this is similarly exhausting. David in Racine, Wisconsin, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yes, and all this rigmarole, it would have been easier just to have it done by Starlink, to connect people to the internet and taking a nice kickback.
Thanks for the call, David. Okay, can you now you know why those astronauts were stranded up there for 9 months. Can you imagine the process if NASA can't do it to figure out somebody who can, when Elon Musk is knocked out of the box because he's Elon Musk and he's not being properly supportive of Joe Biden?
There were 2 comedians that I can't remember. They were radio guys in the 70s or something, and this would be a perfect bit for them. But they're not.
Or how about Monty Python? The troupe that gave us the Ministry of Silly Walks.
This is the government. We're here from the government, and we're here to help. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Tom in Blue Island.
Dan, good morning. Happy Friday, John. Happy Friday.
Hey, Tom.
My question for you guys is: do you think the bureaucrats that come up with these plans that they're specifically based after the Stalin 5-year plans, or is it just that their conditioning ends up the same way, where the only thing that gets accomplished is the extension of these bureaucrats' pensions?
If we had guys like this working in my father's butcher shop, he would come in the back, cigarette dangling from his lips. He would turn and say, "It's taking you 5 years to make chop suey? What am I going to charge? $100 a pound? You stupid fools." Kick their ass out in the street.
Dan and John Cass in for Amy J., Chicago's Morning Answer.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper. Hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
With over 3 decades of serving up streetwise insight and local perspective on Page 2, the voice of John Cass has a home at johncassnews.com. A place where common sense is still served daily.
Listen up. Do you like being treated as a chumbalone, as a fool, sitting on a stool, smiling wanly at the sky?
Don't be a chumbalone and subscribe at johncassnews.com.
I'm John Cass, 40 years a newspaper man in Chicago. I won't name the place, it's just the paper now.
That's the Chicago way.
But I'm asking you to join me so you can get a decent cup of common sense at least. You're not going to get it from the media. It's time that you join the frontier of independent journalism at johncassnews.com.
Don't get caught in the parade of chumbalones.
Traditional media, mainstream media like the paper, they're all in on it. They think you're stupid. You know what they think? They think you're a chumbalone.
Subscribe at johncassnews.com now for only $50 a year and become a member of the No Chumbalone Zone.
You heard me talk about Relief Factor and how so many people enjoy a better, more pain-free life because of it. If you're dealing with everyday pain, it makes sense you'd want to try it first. Well, Relief Factor makes that pretty pain-free too with their 3-week quick start kit for only $19.95, less than $1 a day. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain temporarily, it helps reduce or eliminate pain. Visit relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF, 800-4RELIEF for Relief Factor.
You want to give your dogs the very best. No matter what they're eating, you should add Dr. Fido's to every bite. Just sit back and watch them lick their bowl clean, knowing they are getting 40 carefully selected ingredients made from whole foods, spices, and fibers from bananas to sweet potatoes. Vet developed, dog trusted. This is the human-grade dog food topper that gives you peace of mind. Go to drfidos.com and subscribe to save $20 each month. That's drphytos.com.
I'm alpine skier Michaela Schifrin. I've won the most World Cup ski races in history. But what does success mean to me? Success means discipline. It's teamwork. It's the drive and passion inside of us, and it's why Stifel is one of the fastest growing global wealth management firms in the country. If you're looking for success, surround yourself with the people who will get you there. If you're an advisor or investor, choose Stifel, where success meets success.
Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Past performance is no indication of future results. Investing involves risk. Consult a financial advisor before making any investment decisions.
AM 560, The Answer.
Open mic! Open mic Friday! Call it now! Open mic Friday!
Yes, it's that time of the week, Open Mic Friday. Taking your calls, 312-642-5600. Turnkey.pro answer line. Take your calls with comments, concerns, criticisms, compliments, general crack pottery. We'll take it all. But we begin today with a sub. We've got a sub for Amy and John Cass. We've got a sub for David Kolsak, Turnkey.pro founder. His name is John Gallagher, and he's my boss. He's the GM at AM 560, subbing for David Kolsak. This should be interesting. Maiden voyage for John. John?
Thanks, Dan. I appreciate the intro. And I wanted to thank David Kolsak for yielding his time today and taking some well-deserved R&R. Full disclosure, he just landed a big account from doing this segment, so I'm hoping some of that luck rubs off.
No, very nice.
We'll take it. So, Dan, you and I would agree that this is the best time of the year, by far the best time of the year. And it's not just because the White Sox scored 8 runs and won their opening day game, which is a miracle in itself, but it's because of March Madness. March Madness is the best time of the year, and those of us, for me, for example, who happens to be alumni of Villanova University, I know a little something about March Madness and winning March Madness.
Glory days.
We had Jim Valvano, who famous mantra was survive and advance, but Jay Wright had a little bit different approach to it. He said, if I can convince my team that the next game is the most important game of their lives, I got a chance of winning this thing. Not 2 games from now, not 3 games from now, but the next game. If we win the next game, if I convince my players this is the most important game of their lives, we got a chance to win. And I'm going to say the same goes for elections. All last year, we were told that this November 5th is the most consequential election in our lifetimes. How many times did we hear that? Heard it over and over and over again. And as it turned out, it was. There's no doubt it was. And I can't imagine what would happen if it went the other way. It's nightmares. So right now, our radio station, this Chicago Morning's Answer, reaches 49 counties. We boom into 49 counties in 5 states. And if you look at those 49 counties in the last election, because I do the math, I don't have much of a life, so I do things like that. I totaled it up, and Trump increased his voter total from 2020 to 2024 in those 49 counties by just under 300,000 votes. 300,000 votes. Now, keep in mind, he won by 2.2 million, and his total increase was 3.1 million. So our audience was a significant factor in the last election. So as I'm talking to the audience, I want to remind them that the next election isn't in November, and it's not in 2026. The next election's Tuesday.
Yeah.
And Tuesday matters as much as any other election. As a matter of fact, it may matter more in Wisconsin, right? You guys have all week have been talking about the Wisconsin Supreme Court election, and we know how much money, $50 million from George Soros and J.P. Pritzker, has been poured into that election. But if we, in the 6 counties we reach right now in Wisconsin, if every one of our listeners found another 2 or 3 people to go out and vote, this thing could get turned around pretty quickly. Heck, if Chuck from Delavan just invited half of his high school garage bands to show up for the election, we'd be in a lot better shape. All right. Now, there's a lot of hype about the Wisconsin election, but don't forget all these other elections. I mean, there's mayor's races, school boards, village and township trustees, village presidents. All of this stuff is important. And I have a little personal story. I learned the hard way about these off-year elections. When I first moved to Northbrook, shortly after, there was an off-year election, and on the ballot was a ballot issue for a $90 million bond issue for the high schools. $90 million. That's crazy. But it wasn't for the classrooms. It wasn't for a new calculus course. It wasn't for books. It was for an Olympic diving pool in Glenbrook South, and it was for an Olympic workout facility in Glenbrook North. I guess they had to spend the money in both schools, which is absurd. And I remember thinking to myself, there's no way any idiot's going to vote for that, right? Well, I was wrong. Less than 300 people voted in that election, and it won by less than 10 votes. And every time I look at my property tax bill, I have to think about not showing up for that election. So don't miss this election. So people always ask, what can we do? Well, I can tell you what you can do. You can do a little research for one thing. Go to your township, go to your village, go to your city website, look at some of the people that are running for election on Tuesday, and then Google them, look them up, look at the social media, take a look. There's a, I looked at Northbrook, and there's a couple trustees. I looked at their social media. They're friends with Jan Szyszkowski. Okay, what does that tell you? All right, all right, I'm done. So find like-minded people. When you're out this weekend watching them and say tournament, talk to your friends. Have conversations about the election. And don't whisper. Speak loud enough so everybody around you can hear, because they'll join the conversation. They agree with you, including the waitresses, including the bartenders, including the stylists or the hairdressers or the auto mechanics that you deal with, okay? And when you leave your services this weekend, don't just run to the restaurant or run home. Spend a little time in the back of the church or the synagogue or the mosque and have a little conversation with people about the election. Let them know how important it is. Mention the Marxist communists that you looked up yesterday and give them a little information about these people. Because if everyone does a little extra for this election on Tuesday, the momentum continues. We start winning the grassroots, and that makes all the difference right now. And I'll just tell you, if you don't vote in Tuesday's election, you have no right to complain. That's it.
All right.
I can't think of a better editorial endorsement.
Yeah, that's good. All right. Emphasis on the local elections and basketball. I'm surprised no mention of Raleigh Massimino. I mean, how do you talk Villanova basketball and not mention Raleigh?
Well, I didn't have as much time with Raleigh as I did with Jay.
Yeah,
so,
sure. Back in the day.
Back in the day, yeah. No, but you're right, and I'm glad you mentioned it.
Yeah, yeah. And I won't mention how Dwayne McClain was coked up during the Final Four. I'm not going to mention that.
well, hey, listen, he won. He won.
Whatever means necessary.
Allegations. That's all they are.
No. Well, he actually admitted it after.
Yeah, Sports Illustrated.
In a Sports Illustrated article, yes.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for bringing that up, Dan.
Well, I mean, I got to give both sides.
I appreciate
a little bitterness from Dan.
Those Northwestern Wildcats are turning the heat too, from what I can see.
Yeah, well,
does Dan?
The struggles continue.
Do people know that you graduated from the Pritzker School of Law, Dan?
I did not, actually, because I got my law degree from Loyola.
Oh, there you go. A good Catholic school.
Nice try, Cass. You're trying to like, trap me with a Pritzker? No. Although I did get, I got to say, full disclosure again, I did get political donation when I ran for governor from then James, now Jennifer Pritzker.
Oh, okay.
How about that?
Did you get a scarf, though?
No. Actually, I've told this on the air before, but I mean, actually, he was. It's a really interesting guy. I mean, a great military historian, and I actually had extended conversations with him back in 2010 on a range of issues, including gender identity. And there were some things we obviously disagreed on, but I mean, I have no animus towards him. I just disagree with him.
Right.
But JB, his cousin JB, that's a different story.
Yeah. Got it.
All right, John. Can we get on? I gotta ask permission. Can we get on to other callers?
You should move along and take the more important callers. Dave.
All right.
Go right
Very
ahead.
good.
Thank you.
And following on John's comments, we started it yesterday, but we'll continue an open mic Friday. Candidates for local offices who want to call in and pitch your wares, please do. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. And we got one. Nicole in Warrenville. You're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning, Dan, and good morning, everybody, hello, listeners. My name is Nicole Prater, and I'm running for Winfield Township Supervisor. The opponent I'm running against, believe it or not, she's a current county board member, and I believe she's going to keep both seats if she wins. We don't need another Tiffany Hayward in Illinois.
Okay.
I'm really reaching out. I'm the current supervisor. I'm an Air Force veteran. I currently appointed myself to the Mental Health Board, the new level of government that we put in Winfield Township, because I want to make sure that spending stays low and that our levies aren't going to go crazy.
Okay. All right. So Winfield Township Supervisor Nicole Prater. Excuse me. Prater. Yeah. Nicole
Spell
Prater.
it, please.
The township level, it does say it's partisan, so we'll say I'm a Republican on the line on there. I also have to put a plug in for my assessor, Mark Millay. He's been my assessor for over 15 years. He does a wonderful job, and the person that's running against him is a current trustee that doesn't know anything of what he's doing. I also have to put a plug in for Amanda Gustinovich. She's running for our clerk, and then our 4 trustees, Edward Frankowiak, Carolyn Polos, Dave Clark, and Dale Boyd. It's really imperative. We want to keep the levies low. We don't want to keep it at 5% each and every time that we can. I know for a fact that my opponent really can't do math very well. I keep a bit balanced budget. She was saying that I didn't spend enough money on ARPA funds. I spent over $247,000 in ARPA funds. And that's just for getting a new bus and helping our seniors so that they have an area to go to in William Township, because we don't have a community center. Winfield Township is we're the smallest township in DuPage County. We're 36 square miles, but the population is the smallest. But we only use what we need. And I think that I want to continue to do so. And I would really appreciate the help and the vote.
Okay, Nicole Prater and team. Winfield Township has been heard from. Thanks, Nicole. Appreciate it. Jim in South Elgin.
Well, good morning, gents. Good show, and absolutely, you should get out and vote on Tuesday in King County. They have this 1%, slightly under 1% sales tax proposal. They don't need it. The government has spent 27% increase in their budget over the last 2 years. In fact, you should have Lawson on to talk about it if you haven't already. And also, they're saying that Elon Musk is going to go up and campaign for Schimmel in Wisconsin. I just read that this morning.
Very good. Thanks for the call, Jim. John in Bridgeport.
Hey, guys, real quick. First, happy birthday to my guy Mo in Peatone, he's a longtime listener, you guys. And then second of all, do you see Trump at all coming into Wisconsin to help the Supreme Court race up there? What are your thoughts on that? Thanks, guys.
I don't know. By the way, happy birthday, Mo. We don't want to, if you want to join in, right. Don't want to slight Mo in Peatone. Thanks for the call, John. Well, you just heard Musk up there. I know there's engagement there. It wouldn't be a bad idea to really hear from, if not be there physically, to send a message to his loyalists to make sure to get out and vote.
Rally them. Get them out.
Yeah. Greg in Elo, Michigan.
Hi. I'd like to ask John Cass. You know, I went to his website in order to cap, and I noticed there's CO2 offsetting delivery. What's the deal with that?
What are you talking about?
On your website.
CO2?
There's a delivery option that says CO2 offsetting delivery.
Well, I don't know what that is. I'm going to have to check it out with the Yellow Box Agency as soon as I get off the line.
All right.
But I really...
John, wait, did you hire Greta Thunberg to do your marketing?
I'm using WIND AM 560. They're marketing for me. I've got ads up. I heard 2 of them today. And we're trying to reach the diaspora in all the counties that John was talking about, including Naperville. I mean, including...
DuPage.
And what's that place in Florida that you live in?
Collier County?
Yeah. I want it. I want all of it, man. And I'll find out what that CO2 thing is. I don't have that.
John Cass saving the planet.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'm just saying, you know, soccer is a gateway to all sorts of other bad choices.
You are amazing, man. You won't give up.
Eduardo, Tampa Bay.
Yeah, Dan. Good morning, everyone.
Hey,
we got Jim Petronas and Randy Fine against those $15 million candidates over there in the Democrat side. So hopefully in the Florida area, let's get out there and vote on Tuesday.
Yeah, Petronas, that's for the Gates seat, right? Yeah, thanks for the call, Eduardo.
I got a question for Eduardo. Eduardo?
Oh, no,
how's
sorry.
the snook fishing?
Oh, we lost Eduardo.
That's all I care about, snook and redfish down there.
Glenn in Orlando. A lot of Florida.
Yeah, good morning. Great show. I just want to give a shout out to people to reward good behavior and hold bad behavior accountable. For example, we need to get the FBI whistleblowers that lost their security clearances another look. And then we need to go after the people in California and in New Orleans that did a bad thing with the wildfires and the truck ramming into people. And we need accountability for people that didn't do their jobs. So
definitely.
Thanks for the call, Glenn. Okay. Grant, Rockford.
Good morning, you guys. Happy Friday. Good to hear you, John. My original point was, Dan, if you could just give us an update on homeschool bill, HB 2827. I'm a homeschooler, so this is it's pretty close to home, if you know what I mean. And if I could make one more point, it's just these judges are so frustrating with Trump and their stifling. How can they let 12 million people in, but you can't kick out 300 gangbangers? It's so demoralizing. It's so demoralizing. It's like Trump won, but did he? Did he really win? Did we win? Anyway, happy Friday, and John, soccer is not a sport.
Love you, man. I'll agree with you on the judges, though.
Yeah, that's a good point. We let 12 million in, but we can't kick 300 gangbangers out. That's well said. The homeschooling legislation, it's funny. I was having a conversation about this with an Illinois couple that used to homeschool at dinner last night. And I don't have a handle on it, on where it's at and what the prospects of it passing are. You would think it would be a no-brainer, given the composition of the General Assembly, that there wouldn't be much of a chance of stopping it. But, the homeschooling families punch above their political weight in Illinois, one of the few on the side of freedom that do. And so, if they can impose enough of a cost or a perceived cost, you may have some people that say, it's just not worth it. So that's what I'm hoping for those families. But, if I had to handicap it, I'd say just based on the numbers that it's more likely than not to pass. Now, what Pritzker will do about it for this, in the same vein,
smother it.
He may do that, but I don't. I think he feels, rather invincible, which is why he acts as imperious as he does, and he probably figures homeschooling families aren't my voters anyway, so, bring them into the fold and do the teachers' unions another solid. I could see it playing out that way, too. Rich in Indian Head Park. Hey, Rich. Rich. Rich is having technical difficulties. Bill, Southside.
Hi. I just wanted to mention Jimmy Lee's still in prison. He's the famous publisher in Hong Kong. I believe he's still on trial. His son has got a Twitter, supportjimmylee.com. That's where I found it on Twitter X. And John, he's kind of a patron saint of newsmen, I would think. He stood up against the Chinese communists and was put in prison. He could have left Hong Kong. He didn't. Mm-hmm. And I've got a little support thing for him. My support is hashtag Made in China. Put it back until Jimmy Lee is free.
Jimmy Lai, I think is the pronunciation. But anyway, thanks for the call. It's good. A publisher of the Apple Daily, and definitely someone who has been politically prosecuted by the Chinese Communist Party. There's no question about it. Good to remember.
Thank you for that.
Pete, Glen Ellen.
Hey, Dan, John, how are you this morning?
Good.
Called in to give you some info on the political landscape in Glen Ellen, which we've been suffering under for years, which is more of like a debris field from a bad train wreck. But we have a Civic Betterment Party. They keep changing the name every few years because they say they're not a party, but this year they used a loophole as a party loophole because they were short a candidate, and then they went and they stuffed a candidate back on the ballot. But the Civic Betterment Party is like a group of people that get together once a year at what they call their town hall meeting. And it's like 300 to maybe 700 residents get together. They forward it's 3 trustee candidates. They forward 1 village president candidate. And again, that's 300 to 700 people that push a few candidates forward out of a community of 28,000 residents. This year they had 1 candidate that dropped out, and they went back to the 2 backup candidates. They couldn't find a replacement, so they dug back for years to try to find somebody who finally put their name on the ballot. We had 1 candidate that was in and out because she had a run-in with the Lombard PD and got her record expunged suspiciously right before she filed. And the other 2 remaining candidates were incumbents that are on the board, and they continue to vote against tax-generating retail developments. So it's all kind of disgusting. But thankfully, we have 2 independent candidates that are running. So I urge people from Glen Ellen just to get in there, vote, make 2 votes, bullet vote for the 2 independent candidates, and walk out.
Who are the independent candidates?
One's name is Jim Burkett. He's running for village president, and the other one, his name is Rob Marquette, and he's running as an independent for the trustee.
Burkett and Marquette?
Burkett and Marquette.
Oh, Burkett and Marquette. Okay, that sort of rhymes. That's sort of a good mnemonic. Burkett and Marquette. Okay, Burkett and Marquette for Glen Ellen. There you go. Thanks for the call, Pete. You know what? I should have asked him. Tara Costa Howard, the duly elected state rep from Glen Ellen, covers Glen Ellen. She's a sponsor of that homeschooling legislation to bring homeschooling families to heel before the state. Tara Costa Howard. And, you just heard Pete describing what's going on in Glen Ellen at the municipal level. So once you stop paying, just going back to the commentary that started this installment of Open Mic Friday, you let it go at the municipal level, and exactly as John Gallagher was saying, and they infiltrate the muni boards and they infiltrate the school boards, and then they start to work their way up, and then all of a sudden you wake up one day and a sensible conservative community like Glen Ellen is represented by a harridan, a ignorant harridan like Tara Costa Howard, who, when she's not promoting abortion on demand at taxpayer expense all 9 months, and every other neo-Marxist gambit under the sun, she's going after homeschooling families.
Beneath contempt. But on a lighter note, it's Rick Barry's 81st birthday, I see.
Rick Barry's 81st birthday.
Yeah.
I think he lives up in Lakewood Ranch down here in Florida.
Huh.
Yeah.
All the cool kids.
Correct. Nicole is a candidate. Nicole?
Hi, how are you?
Good.
I am, my name is Nicole DeBraccio, and I'm running for Lisle Township trustee with Team Common Sense. And we are,
there you go.
Yeah, exactly, because that's what we need to do in Lisle Township is bring common sense decisions back to Lisle Township.
Good.
Our big thing is trying to cut the spending. The current people that were in, the current supervisor had approved a 60% tax levy, which has been increasing the real estate taxes, and the Democrats held a primary this year that cost the taxpayers $250,000. The Republican Party, we came together and said we don't need to spend that kind of taxpayer money. The current people in also have spent about $540,000 hiring third-party people, doing jobs that are included in their position.
All right. Thanks, Nicole. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Jeff in Glen Ellen. More Glen Ellen.
Hey, Dan. How are you today?
Good.
So, I just wanted to call in and tell you a little bit about the township race that we're in right now. It's a little bit messy because we're getting rid of some bad eggs out there. So our supervisor currently, who's in there, we find him unfit for office because he has a nearly $473,000 IRS tax lien against him. We don't feel like you should be able to handle taxpayer dollars when that's the case.
That sounds right.
You could run for mayor of Chicago.
Yeah.
He'd be better suited out in Cook County there. But our assessor, we think that he should probably be headed out of there. We got a really great candidate, Chuck Argianis, to take his place. Our assessor, upon taking office in 2013, got our township sued for nearly $250,000 for firing 3 women. And then now he's enrolled in another federal federal lawsuit for yet again firing a woman. So it's one thing after another with that guy. We've got a really great crew. We've got Dan Malenko for supervisor. We've got Chuck Argianis for assessor, Gary Mufeld for highway commissioner. He's a really great guy, been there for a long time. And we've got Nick Nathwani for clerk, Jeff Castle, myself, Juanita Marquette, Donna Kemp, and Drew Ellis for trustees. And the other thing is I wanted to mention to you, Dan, is I am from Glen Ellen, and I'm also the chairman of the Milton Township Republican, and I could offer a little commentary on Sarah Costa Howard, as I've had run-ins with her several times. I can't imagine the just cocktail of prescription medication she must be on, because she is a very, very angry person. She's always on the wrong side of every issue. You know what I mean? Like with this new homeschooling thing, it's absolutely ridiculous. It's government overreach, right?
And what do I mean? So you're Milton Township Republican committeeman too, and so you live in Glen Ellen.
Yeah.
So I mean, what is your explanation for how Tara Costa Howard skates in Western DuPage County, in a district that Peter Breen once held and was Republican from time immemorial until Tara Costa Howard got in? What are people in Glen Ellen thinking, and what are we doing about those who have their heads up their backsides?
Right. I think that's exactly how it is a lot of people don't really educate themselves on the candidates. They don't educate themselves on the track record of the candidates, what bills they supported for state rep, you know, and what they bring to the table. I always am a big fan of turnover for candidates. Keeps the mindset fresh, keeps new ideas coming to the table. When you have a candidate like Tara Costa Howard, who's just ingrained themselves in there and is there for multiple terms, it makes it stagnant, right? There's nothing fresh coming. It's just the same old ideals, and it stops representing.
Well, it's not about stagnation. She is a aggressive, intemperate Marxist.
Yes.
She is I mean, you were just describing. She is a hateful. Why? Am I the only one who can? I mean, call her what she is. She's a hateful, ignorant person, and I don't know why people in Glen Ellen, just to use this as a case study, can't communicate that to other people in Glen Ellen and say that is she is unacceptable. And if you're aligned with her, then we're going to, political battle, and it won't stop.
The problem is, Dan, that we couldn't get anybody to even run against her last time.
Yeah, well, there's your House Republican caucus. Yeah, there's your House Republican leadership. Yeah, I hear you. All right, thanks for the call, Jeff. Good luck. Milton Township team, you heard the names. Matt in Oak Lawn.
Hey, good morning. Happy Friday. Dan, congrats on your ace last week. That was welcome news Monday morning.
Thank you.
The girl a couple calls ago, Nicole DeBracchio, running for Lyle Township. Incredibly good friend of mine. Her husband and I grew up together. I love her. Beautiful children, wonderful girl. She's brilliant. She's a business owner. She's incredibly sharp. I hope she does well out there next when they vote.
All right.
Have a great day.
Endorsement in Lyle Township from Oak Lawn. Thanks for the call. John Cass's old stomping grounds.
That's right.
You coached up Dwayne Wade when he was at Richards, didn't you?
Just because I have a cane and I'm old doesn't mean I can't kick your ass.
Will and Skokie.
Hey, how you doing? I was talking to you yesterday. Skokie race to watch out for. They have a resolution as to whether or not there should be ranked choice voting, which is just an attempt to make sure that the trustees and the mayor get chose not because by majority, but by us being second place to a certain extent. And I really hate ranked choice voting. It's very undemocratic. So anyway, thanks.
Thanks for the call, Will. Let's try Rich again. Rich in Indian Head Park, are you there this time?
I'm here. Good morning, Dan. Good morning, John. How you guys doing today?
Hey, Rich.
I want to get your opinion on this Jeff Goldberg. Was it in the best interest of the country that he leaked this information, or was it just an attack on Trump's administration because he is a Trump hater? And John, one question for you.
Yep.
Would you put this guy in the category of Chumbalone?
No, because he's a self-promoting weasel who'd suck the blood out of a snake if he could.
Okay.
Thanks for the call, Rich. Lucas Carey.
Hi, yes, thank you. I did 2 Chicago-style hot dog reviews this week.
Oh, good.
Roost 59 in Lake Villa, 3 stars, was pretty good. $3.75 was the price, and the pickle skin was a little bit tough. And then I did one in Wiener Take All, Buffalo Grove, was awesome, a little expensive, $5, but
good
totally
dog.
Banging. So that's my contribution for the week. Thank you.
Thank you. The David Portnoy have hot dogs. Lucas and Carey, great. I love this random hot dog reviews. It's good. I like that. Jim and Lyle. A lot of Lyle.
Yeah, that Lyle Township race, guys, it's a really hot one. That whole slate, Team Common Sense, is Debbie Polowitz, Dave Carlin, John Trowbridge, Ed Young, Nicole DeBracchio, who is an up-and-coming rising star. She's going to change the township completely. Ron Amato, Charlie Margosian, and Dave Seastrom. The Lyle mayor's race is drawing people out of droves, and it's going to bring Team Common Sense to victory.
Love it, but where's the Deerfield people? Are there no men in Deerfield? For God's
Well, I
sake.
can only speak for Lyle.
I know.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
Nancy, River Forest.
Hi there. Our commie subculture in River Forest is trying to pass term limits, so I'd like everybody in River Forest to vote no on term limits.
Okay. All right. You don't want to get Kathy Aducci out of there?
No.
You do want to get her out, or you don't want to get her out? You want to get her out, but not with term limits.
No, I don't want her out, period. Because the commies are going to take over, and we're going to have street art on the banks running down Lake Street.
So it's not great, but it's the only way it's going to go is worse. I got you.
Oh, really worse.
The lesser of two weevils. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, I hear it. Thanks for the call, Nancy. Prime Minister, quickly, we got to get to Chuck.
I have a quick love sonnet to soften Dan's perspicacious heart. I've fallen in love, and I don't know why. I'm madly in love. She's a gal with one eye. I knew from the start it was plain to see that this wonderful lass had an eye out for me. She's charming and witty, jolly and jocular, not what you'd expect from a babe who's monocular. Of eyes I do tell you, she hasn't full quota, but that doesn't change things for me one iota. It must be quite difficult if you are bereft, if your left eye is gone, but your right eye is left. Yes, she's firm in her mind. She's made her decision. She can see love quite clearly in 10/20 vision. She does not leave me wanting or left in the lurch. If she looks slightly sideways, she'll spot me in church. May I wed my true love, lady gentle and kind, that'll prove to Dan Prof that true love is not blind.
Wonderful. It just needs. It's as good as
Thanks,
I am.
PM.
My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my work, ye mighty in despair. That's what it gave me. Gave me an Ozymandias.
Well, he pushed Chuck out, though. We need Chuck's out rallying the troops for Schimmel in Tuesday's race anyway, after he does a little dancing tonight, to be sure. John Cass in for Amy J this morning. John, thank you as always. It is now 9 o'clock, AM 560 WIND.
2 American trips to 2 strategic locations. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. One is near China, the other closer to Russia. In Greenland, where Vice President Vance, his wife Usha, and the National Security Advisor are flying now, as President Trump keeps pushing for the U.S. to take control of Greenland.
The stop at this Bidufik space base is going to be the headline of the trip. It's located about halfway between the United States and northern Russia, so it is as important as anywhere on this planet for missile warnings and missile defense and whatever classified stuff they have going on in space.
Fox's Peter Doocy at the White House. Russian leader Vladimir Putin wary of all this.
Putin watching this and saying, we will not allow encroachments on the sovereignty of our country, and we will reliably protect our national interests.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is in the Philippines, a U.S. ally in the Pacific, saying we need to reestablish strength and deterrence to deal with Chinese aggression.
President Trump seeks peace. That's my message here as well. But in order to bring that peace, we will be strong.
This has more suspected American airstrikes target Houthi militants today in Yemen, weeks after the deadly attacks on those rebels who've been disrupting global shipping. A controversy still simmers over a Signal group chat with top U.S. officials discussing that military action. A journalist was mistakenly allowed in to see all the messages that a federal judge has ordered be preserved as Democrats demand a full investigation. There's an earthquake disaster in Burma and Bangkok, Thailand.
Suddenly, I started feeling that the earth is shaking.
There was a lot of screaming and panicking, which obviously made it a lot worse.
A building under construction in Bangkok collapsed, killing at least 3 people. Crews are searching for dozens of people missing under the rubble. And there are images of widespread damage in Burma, where the 7.7 magnitude quake is centered. The military government there has not confirmed reports of numerous deaths. A new report out on inflation this morning shows a slight increase in the closely watched core annual rate of what are called personal